All right, what's up, everybody? Thanks for coming by. We're gonna have a little after show here. I'm gonna throw the link in the description. Everybody that wants to come in is able to come in. Let's see. Looks like we got a good bit of people in here. See the usual suspects. Andrew T's here. Messenger Reveals is here. I've seen Spartan, Sarah. That's you, Stupid Or Energy. And the usual. It looks like Jim Majors is here. Glad to see that. I'm gonna go ahead and actually, you know, before I throw the link in the description, I'm actually gonna send it to Jim first and let Jim come in first and maybe kind of give some of his thoughts and maybe maybe he gets a chance to clear his mind and kind of give out some of his thoughts about the discussion. Let's see. Let's get the link here. Is this your first time to the channel? I always have like discussions and things like that. As James said, I'm gonna be moderating on his channel tomorrow night. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You know you want to. Let's see. I've been back for like less than 3 months, but all right, Jim. I just sent the link out to you, so feel free to come in. All right. What's up to Andrew T says, Gavin, Jim Majors, can we please get a stash battle before I die? Yeah, Gavin definitely got the stash going as well. Let's see what else we got here. We got Dawkins is mentally retarded. I think he's probably talking about Richard Dawkins there, I'm pretty sure. Jesus is Lord is in here. So let's see. A Mun, I've seen you before. Not sure if Jim wants to roll in or not yet, but I did just send you the link to your email, so we'll give Jim a couple minutes, and if he doesn't come in, then I'll just put the link out there for whoever that wants to come in. I'm probably gonna be doing some homework while this after show goes on, just let people come in and kind of talk about the discussion. But honestly, I do got a few things to do, so I'll try and watch the chat. But what's up to Travis Lee? I had a really stupid class tonight, so that I didn't care to go to. But let's see. Chubbs is in here. If you haven't seen my discussion with Chubbs, that's a really cool one. Check it out. I let him grill me on everything about Christianity. If you don't stop, my dog keeps running in circles in this blanket and then shocks me with all the static that she generates. I keep getting shocked in the back. I'm like, what the heck is going on? It's ridiculous. How's this audio? Does it sound good? All right, since Jim hasn't popped in yet, I'm just going to throw the link out there. Anybody wants to pop in is able. Let's try and I'm going to be doing some homework and stuff, so like let's try and keep it about the show. I mean, if you want to bring up something else, whatever. But what's up, Brian Stevens? Let's see. Hey, Hannah Anderson. First time I've seen you in here. Colorado biker Pepper. First time I've seen you in here. Link in the description for what? Colorado. All right, we got Dry Apologist just popped in. What's up, Dry?
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, same old, same old. Looks like we got Phil Bunny.
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Awesome.
Spartan Theology.
Yeah, awesome. Love it.
Colorado biker.
I'll turn on my science ball.
Biker, it looks like we added you, but I don't see your.
Am I not in there?
We can hear you, but there's no.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know. Might be I have occasional issues with my webcam.
Okay, so. I can see. I can see at least your icon now. All right.
Okay.
So what's up? Who wants to start with their opinion about this show?
It was a shit show?
Oh no, that was a medical waste dumpster fire.
Holy fuck.
Seriously?
It always is. It always is with DD. He's always been that way.
So bad. He's so bad.
It kind of seemed like, to me, it seemed like a collegiate academic debate.
Yeah, I thought both parties were very respectful.
Yeah, a collegiate debate for sure. Yeah.
No, but yeah, I really did not care for the way that I guess he's going by Duncan now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's also been really EF or Evolution False.
Yeah, I really didn't care for the way that he was acting. Like, even if I were to totally agree with him, I would not be very happy with and I am a Christian, by the way. Like, if you got, like, a lot of you guys,
if I were a Christian, I'd be fucking and highly embarrassed by that guy's behavior.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm an atheist, and I feel sorry for any of the believers that are associated with him, because he is just a very poor representation.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a Christian, I was rooting for Jim the entire time. I can definitely say that.
Well, Jim and I have had a debate on Modern Day Debate before, and we were both really cordial, and I think we actually brought out quite a lot of facts, like, in that discussion on both sides. So
there's no reason to make this personal, and he was constantly making it personal, like Kent Hovind. He was a little Kent Hovind the whole time. That's dumb. That's dumb.
In the past, I've gone like 20 rounds with, 20 different chats with DD, and it's always the same thing. He's been using this exact same script for the past 7 years. He cannot, if you get him off of it, he completely loses it. He gets angry, and he can't think outside of this presuppositional script that he has.
You saw that when he debated Shannon Q.
Exactly. Shannon just totally just like she called him out on it too. She says, "Look, Bob, you're just leading this at where you want to go. I'm not going to do this." And he lost it.
Yeah. Yeah. Shannon Q definitely did jujitsu on his entire argument over and over. It was really fun to watch that for sure.
Jimbo, what's up, brother? You're muted.
I'm not able to probably. James muted him so hard during the debate that his entire life is muted.
It's like a continuous mute. Now he's not muted on my side. It looks like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, James has that power. He's an angel. I've been telling everyone.
Can one of you guys drop out and let Jim move up in the stream, and then just try to rejoin? Dry, you could rejoin. Let's see, Jim. I still am unable to hear you. Let's see. Try now. Hang on. Jim, maybe try to rejoin. Hang on a second. All right, say something, Jim. Okay. Let's very unfortunate. Now we got Jim. All right, we got Phil back.
I was just saying, can you hear me now, or
Yeah, we
This is a real party now.
It's really weird.
People coming in and out.
That's
well, I
right.
was just seeing if that would do anything to help. With
Now
things.
everybody's muted, except for me, I think.
No, I can hear you.
Hang on a second. Let me add Jim. All right, Jim, let's give it another shot, buddy. I don't know why we can't hear Jim. Yeah, we can hear you. I heard that. There we go.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
What's up, Jim?
Oh, okay. You guys can hear me?
Yes,
yeah, we can hear you.
Yep. I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
I'm inviting some CBD in your name, man.
Sorry about the dumpster fire, guys.
No, it was hilarious. I was screaming at the TV. My girlfriend loved it.
Yeah, it made for a
hear me?
pretty decent night. Yeah, we can still hear you.
Yep.
You're a little laggy, but we can still hear you.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's just you're a little laggy. I can see your videos kind of.
That's strange. You can hear me, all right?
Yeah, much better now. Yes.
That's weird.
Oh, and then he dropped out. That's so cool.
I was ominous too. I was like, I'm omnimus. Fuck. There's certain words that my mouth just refuses.
Ominous.
It is.
Ominous.
I know. Yeah, I know. I couldn't
Yeah.
get my mouth to. Sometimes I can. Sometimes I can't. It's a 50-50. If you're aware of that, you just
Now
warn
Phil's
people.
muted, unless I just can't hear him on my end.
No, I can hear Phil.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm not
he must
sure
be
what's
muted
going
on my
on
end.
with StreamYard, I guess. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave and come back.
All right. Yeah, so so what I was saying was I really was not impressed with Darth. You know, in one of my classes that I'm taking this semester, there's a part where we were learning about EQ, which is emotional intelligence, right? And it's just being able to not only understand other people's emotions, right? And not letting other people's emotions affect you, but being able to control your own emotions, right? And I just find it incredible how unintelligent Darth is when it comes to emotional intelligence.
It's why I don't have a hard time being like, yeah, our brains are chemicals, because holy crap, those chemical imbalances are a whack. Like it'll throw you completely into different mindsets that people just can't get into. You know, so
I'm on a different internet. My Wi-Fi switched over.
Way better now.
Welcome back to the
Perfect.
real Wi-Fi.
Right on.
Yeah,
Good deal.
Still professional.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you
Sorry
were in
about the
Colorado,
dumpster
man,
fire.
I'd take you down to the dispensary and buy you a nice big fat joint just for dealing with him.
Oof.
That's all right.
If you were here, Jim, if you were here where I'm at, man, I would, have a complete Bible study with you, brother.
Hey,
Thank
yeah.
no thanks.
Yeah, man.
They're like, man, if you're here, we'd hit a bong, bro. Like, I'm like, dude, if you're here, Bible study all night, man.
I'll do the bong one. Thank you.
Hey, I mean, to be honest with you, I really don't know that I could pick between the two. That they both sound like a pretty good time.
Yo, didn't your Yahweh make marijuana?
Yeah, that's the
okay.
cool.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about Jim.
Yeah,
is
you
that,
That's the argument, right?
when Jim and I when we had our debate on Modern Day Debate, I got to be honest, like I had only heard of Jim like maybe one or two debates before that, and I had no clue that he was like legit going to school for like theological studies, right? Like I had no clue. So like,
studies, yeah.
yeah, biblical studies. So
That's cool.
kudos, man.
I couldn't stomach to read the Bible once.
Thanks, man.
No offense.
It's something I'm passionate about. It's something I've, but Bible's my favorite book, and I people probably think I probably have a problem because like even when I'm, I mean, school's hard enough as it is, but then I'm just like writing papers just to write papers, and they're like, what's wrong?
Yeah, I got to tell you right now, I just started back school like maybe a week or so ago, and I'm already getting tired of some of the stuff I got to do right now. just because I'm going to school full time and
I've
working
been back for
full
about
time.
2.
But have you?
Yeah,
This is my second week. So, but yeah. So what I was saying, Jim, right before you came back in, was that I find it incredible that Darth seems to have zero like awareness of emotional intelligence, like zero, like self, like he seems to not be able to take a look at his own actions and reflect on those. It reminds me of, when there's a cop, right? And maybe the cop's completely right and completely justified, but they're just acting so unaware, they walk up to a guy and they're like, "Hey, stop right there," and he stops and he's like, "Yeah, sure. What's going on?" And he's like, I'm going to search you because you just came from a like highly suspicious place or whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, sure, no problem, no problem." And then he pulls out his gun. He's like, "Get on the ground now." It's just like, how are you so unaware of your surroundings? Like, you're not that hard to get along.
It's like an inability to it's almost like an inability to empathize with somebody. It's
I think part of the problem
no empathy.
Right. I think part of the problem too is that he's been running this. I like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I had encounters with him, on Hangouts and all that, and he's just been doing the same thing. He hasn't evolved, he hasn't changed, and I think for him, it's just become an automatic response. He has to have a flow chart or something for the script that he runs, and he doesn't even think about what he's saying anymore. It's just become regurgitation of the same exact points over and over. If you watch all through his history, I mean, it goes like 7-8 years. It's always been the same thing. So he's not conscious of what he's saying anymore.
That's a really common tactic. Kent Hovind has been saying
exactly
the same thing since 1990.
He's got like this dialogue tree, and if you divert from it at any point, he yanks you back to it and just shoves your face, and he's like, "No, you're going this way."
Yeah.
And
and
like,
if you
I
get him
don't
off,
know if you guys noticed, I tried to make it a point to point it out. I know James did, but he would answer my question as short and briefly and as vaguely as possible, and then proceed to ask me a question and demand that I answer it. Like, what? Whoa, that's not how this works. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's part of the tactic. That's part of his tactic.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how you could counter his ultimate argument, and the ultimate argument you'd just say is ultimately is our perceived reality collectively, and then he would say, "Well, that's an argument from, popularity or whatever," and then you go, "No, not really, because like that's the only way we can really confirm anything, because then we're getting into hard solipsism, and that's a boring conversation." And I think that's the only way to stop what he's trying to do, because hard solipsism, it's a boring conversation. That's why it's the least important thing about the Matrix.
And endless, like it's more circular than the one we were having. I'll admit though, I couldn't regress into a little adolescent at the end, but
it was worth it for that nuts jokes. That nuts joke is funny. So
I don't think I've ever seen James as frustrated. And like I say, it could be the case that Darth is 100% correct, but it's just the way that he goes about it that just like ruins it. And my thing is, if you've followed my channel for any amount of time, you know that like my conversations, like my channel is all about like the people I'm talking to. Like I just had Alex Malpass on the show last week to talk to my buddy Dry Apologist.
I love Malpass.
Like the people I have on, and the discussions that I have are about like getting to the bottom of things and like having a clear and concise dialogue and the dialectic, right? How are you going to have a dialectic with something like that? It's just, it makes it so difficult to even just to break past the noise.
You can't. It's designed that way. He has specifically designed it and structured it in such a way that you cannot do that.
I think the way you counter these types of debates is you have to force the debate to be something that they want to debate, and that's dishonest. But they're already being dishonest. So my argument being, if I were to debate Kent Hovind, it would only be about tax law and why he's wrong about his case, because he also doesn't understand that he deserved to go to jail.
You can ask James. We were so close to having that debate, me and Kent. We were so close, and he backed out.
There's
That's
no
you.
such
That's
thing as
how I know who
structuring.
you are.
There's no such thing as structuring.
I know. That's how I know who you are. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. There's no such thing as structuring, Ken. My lawyer friend said, yeah, you structured all the taxes so you didn't pay them. It's not even that hard. Okay. Ken Oven's another. He's a ridiculous human being, but he's ruined a lot of people. Yeah.
Well, with Darth, I think it's difficult to have a conversation with a pre-supper. I mean, it's
Yeah. But back when modern, not modern day debate, when non sequitur was still in its heyday, I had a debate with Saitin Bruggencate, which ended up lasting a total of almost 5 hours. It's insane. It's still up. It's two separate videos.
I mean, to be fair, Darth knew like hours, days, whatever, probably years before that debate started that every single thing you said, he just couldn't. I mean, he didn't even go in his head. He just, oh, you're wrong, instantly.
Right.
Like, I don't know how you can even have a conversation with that.
I think I was right. Now, once he gave a defense, he didn't give a defense for his position. He just asserted deism. That's all he did.
I mean, I'm pretty sure he would have argued with you if you tried to tell him your name.
Right, that's the point, and the audience could see that, and he is not. Thankfully, he's not cognizant of that. So the more he digs that hole, he just jumps in after he digs it because he makes himself very unappealing to the audience, and that's the entire point of a debate.
That's why I quit interacting with him. It was just pointless after a while. I was like, why? You're just going to do the same damn thing over and over and over again.
Exactly. Now, if anybody out there knows Darth or has any contact with them, shoot him over a link to the show. I'd like to even bring him in here. It's like, I don't want to just dogpile him and not invite him, but like I don't have any way to invite him. I put the link in the description of Modern Day Debates channel, so like he could it'd be pretty easy to find this discussion. But if anybody personally knows him, send him over the link to his email or something, and tell him we'd like to get him in here. I mean, but I don't know if there's any reasoning though. I can see that he has a system of reasoning, which is probably built out of.
He doesn't. Yeah, it's just circular. Though,
I think after that, after that, he's probably punching holes in drywall or masturbating furiously. I don't know.
What do you think it would be like if you did like just took turns for like 3 or 5 minutes or something like that even?
I don't know if that would matter. Like, okay, so if you do that with Kent Hovind, the problem is he proselytizes for 3 minutes, and then you say whatever you want to say, and he goes, "Well, that's stupid," and then he proselytizes for his next 3 minutes, and then you say whatever you're going to say, and then he says, "Well, that's stupid," and then he so I
that might work with DD for one reason is that
I just want to be clear. Just I'm not mad. I'm disappointed because that's not the conversation that I wanted to have. That's not the conversation that we were supposed to have. Went about it in a way that lacked integrity, and I believe that I was patient, perhaps not as patient as I should have been, but I believe that I went in with the best of intentions and with a wanting to have he was not wanting to have that. I'm not angry now. I'm over it. I could care less about it. I don't want to debate.
No, I don't think you. I don't think you.
But I'm not angry by any means.
I don't think you acted unreasonably. He deserved to be punched, literally, like in physical meat space. That's the kind of thing that gets you hit. So, like, and I'm not saying that's good morals. I'm saying but that's the verbal equivalent of that, and that's fine. You're allowed to do that because here's what he was doing the entire time. And I'm a third party. Obviously, I'm pro atheism. That doesn't mean I don't want to hear a good debate where people are being like making good points or interesting points.
Well, Jim, as a Christian, as a Christian myself, I actually, somewhat apologize for that because, that's not really a good way to go about, intellectual conversation and, exploring various ideas. But, I thought you kept your composure as well as can be expected.
Like I said,
you don't have to apologize for him.
How do we only have
you don't have to apologize for him?
And
neither him nor any other Christian represent Christianity. Yeah.
Well,
I liked it. I'm 10.
Well, you know,
I
I think
think a lot of people in that discussion that were Christian who were saying like
No, I think
Jim's
that
running
people
this cheerleader.
have to take
Yeah, go ahead.
accountability.
yeah, I made a comment that it's pretty bad when all the Christians in the debate
that?
are rooting for the atheist. I said I made a comment in the thread that the Christian representative has to be pretty bad if the Christians in the debate are rooting for the atheist.
Yeah, there were several people in the chat that were just saying, "Hey, he does not represent Christians. He does not
Yeah.
represent us at all."
Yeah, I mean that was me. I was pulling for
Sure.
Jim, that's for sure.
Yeah, so
I mean,
let me just say that. Let me just say one thing here. So
no Christian, but
if
Jesus.
Darth,
I guess if you could call him a Christian, represents Christianity.
yeah, Jim must have a little bit of a lag on his end. Are you able to hear us, Jim?
Yeah, I think there is.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, that took a while.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
All right. You're just a little bit behind, I think.
Okay.
yeah, we can, but it's like you respond to us about 30 or 20 seconds after we say something.
Yeah, can't hear you.
So I'll just say that
Well, I wasn't going to talk so you guys could finish.
Okay.
if Darth if he were to have come and approached this in a way like, let's say that he is as bright and as reasonable as he says that he is, right? If he were to come at this and go, okay, I'm super smart, like I'm so reasonable that I'm going to approach this as if I'm a professor and these guys are students, right? And then he were just to be very charitable the whole time and just be like, no, listen, what I'm saying is, have you ever heard of ultimism? Okay, you haven't? Okay. Well, here's the thing. If you have this, then it follows that you have this, right? Okay. Oh, you're not getting it? If he were to have that like charitable attitude about him, I think that people would almost like want to root for him to go, okay, tell us like what do you mean by that? I feel like people would almost like, he would have so many more fans, it seems like.
Well,
Yeah, I
it
see what
would
you're
increase
saying.
engagement too in the debate instead of just running a script. He would actually be able to, have a decent, conversation.
Yeah, I completely agree.
That's the problem with doing a script like this, because you only have that one option, and he's been relying on it for so long. That's all he
disappointing to say
knows.
the
He doesn't know how to do anything else.
I don't expect what he was going to get out of the answer except for an I don't know. And I'm really irritated with this idea that you can't say I don't know. So like if we're having a discussion and a Christian gets to this point where I'm trying to get an answer and they go, I don't know, I respect that a lot more than I intangibly totally understand this for no reason that I can physically point to.
Word salad.
Right.
Well, presuppositionalism, I mean, it's just really bad epistemology.
Well, and
that's why I like to get things
I think there's
defined ahead of time.
Go ahead, Jim.
Well, and I think there's a problem whenever you say, that whenever you kind of conflate it, you're talking about the existence of God and the existence of objective truth or objective morality or some sort of an ultimate which you can yourself, because the ideas of the Christian God or any God for that matter, or all gods for that matter, and still. And not even have to worry about the ultimacy argument. Those are two separate arguments.
Yeah, so I guess what I would say is that, there are plenty of times when I say I don't know, right? I try to give an answer for everything, but there are times when we get to somewhere and I can't know. Like, unless I just got off the phone with God, like I couldn't know. Like some people will say, well, why would God, if it's not spelled out in what God revealed to people, like I have to look at it like this. Okay, if God revealed, what did he say in Revelation? Then I have to look at that. And then I have to look at what he revealed in nature, for example. But then when you get to a certain point on some issues, you have to go, well, why would God want this? Or why would God, do this, for example? And there are certain things where it's like, if nothing's said about it, I couldn't know that. So I have to say I don't know, right?
But literally everything up until that conversation is more thought put into it than I think Duncan has put into it in general. And also having that conversation would have actually been interesting, as opposed to literally Jim saying, well, what about, no, that's stupid. Like I can't with a guy that won't let you finish the beginning of a thought. And the second you start doing that to him, he jumps in the wambulance and just starts listing the atrocities against all Christians in the debating community. Oh, every atheist is like this, don't you know? They're unhinged. Like, it was such a double standard.
Yeah, when I hear stuff,
he was like, Shannon Q was the same way. I'm like, well, there's a common denominator there, and it's not me or Shannon. Like,
well, you said atheists. You see,
yeah. Sometimes I hear that.
I'm sure that's what it is. You're right, because I'm not trying to be braggadocious or anything, but I think that Shannon Q and I are probably about the two most kindest atheists on YouTube right now.
Oh, you're way nicer than I am.
Yeah, and I would just say that, like, I don't know. I just seem that I see that a lot now with some theists, and it'll be like, well, atheists are idiots because of this, like, and it's just like, whenever I hear it sometimes on the other side as well, and I hear, well, it's just another dumb theist. Like, theists think this, and then they'll like give some like general thing, and like I'm listening to an audio book right now. It's called The Philosopher's Tool Guide or Tool Chest. So when I'm listening to that and I hear things like, hasty generalization fallacies, and like I'm listening to fallacies by day, and then like hearing them like pronounced in real time by night.
Like everything he says is a fallacy, while he's also declaring that everything that Jim said was a fallacy. And you're like, this is how you're that kind of Christian. Because you don't care if there's a contradiction. You just don't care. You just push through it.
I agree with Converse. I think, in order to have, a really fruitful dialogue, there needs to be mutual respect on both sides,
The problem with DD is, though, is that he automatically goes into it with almost a disdain for anyone that would have any kind of disagreement with his position. He's just there to cause, to say, oh, well, they're not worth it. I'm just going to have to run my script and try and get them to agree with me because they're wrong. He's going into it with a preconception that everybody's wrong except for him. And that's not the way you have dialogue.
Yeah, you can't really expect, meaningful dialogue, with that kind of attitude,
He's looking to collect as many mini victories so that he can say the overall thing was a victory.
Right.
In fact, you're not making victories. You're just,
talking over people.
and he would never get this far with Matt Dillahunty, by the way. And I think that's why he does this to you.
Oh,
Jim.
He tried.
Okay. So that's my thing. Like, I didn't know he was on that. That's really funny.
Yeah, I've
been watching a lot of that.
He called into. There's an atheist experience he called into, and I think it lasted maybe 3 minutes, 2.5, 3 minutes, and the first 30 seconds was pleasantries before Dillahunty just hung up on his ass and said, "I'm not doing this," and just click.
Yeah, so I got Dry Apologist in the chat. He said that he thinks that Duncan is more intelligent than people are giving him credit for, but I agree that his approach is counterproductive to discussion. And I agree with that. That's why a few minutes ago I said that, that if he were to come at this at a much more charitable position, as if, if he really is as wise as he, seems to be portrayed from his fans, like it would seem like he would just assume that everybody else was below his level, and that he would come at it in a more charitable position.
Well, he's got a certain level of arrogance.
I don't think he's intelligent, though. I think he's just practiced.
Yeah.
This is actually the first debate I've seen him in.
I don't think he's intelligent at all.
Oh, wow.
Really? This is Darth Dawkins.
EF, Evolution False. He's gone by a couple others in the past 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah.
I don't use the word aggressively stupid on very many people, but I think he's aggressively stupid. Like, he's stupid to the point where he wants to knock down intelligent people.
More like Dunning-Kruger effect. More like Dunning-Kruger.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think there is some room for a presuppositionalist argument, but it's not apart from evidentialism. So what I mean by that is that everybody has their presuppositions. That seems to me to be obvious, right? And if we can look at those and try to analyze those, sure, that could make for a good argument. But to do it in the way that you do, where you say like, you can't get past that to go into any evidences. And you see them cheating at this sometimes. They'll say, well, hey, well, just for the people listening, I'll tell you why that's wrong evidentially. Right. Like
Right.
Sai used to do that. And I actually like Sai. Like, I thought that he was a passionate guy, and I thought that he was probably more genuine than most people doing it. And when you read Bonson and some of these other guys, Van Til, you do see like, okay, well, I can see where he's coming from with that. But it just seems to me that his whole that Darth Dawkins or Duncan, it really is just the way that he presents it. It's the approach, and I find that, like, if you were to, I used to be in sales, right? And I used to listen to some sales guys talk about it and about how to approach people, and it's all about the approach. Like, if his goal was to convert people, or at least to be used by God to witness to people, right? It would seem that he would, like, it's been shown, and I use this all the time on my show, but it's been shown that when you confront people with views that contradict their views, they cling tighter to their views on both sides. So there has to be a middle ground where you can start easing people toward the other view, right?
I also find the more variety of topic you have, the more right your side tends to be. You see this a lot with Sargon of Akkad, for instance, to pull in somebody out that is a random, but like they'll double down on this one idea, and variance on that idea is never finding. There's maybe one or two studies, you know what I'm saying? There's never any robust information. Kent Hovind does this, of course, to a huge extent. Like, there's this mountain of evidence for this thing. They don't care about this mountain of evidence at all.
Yeah, Ken Ham does the same thing too.
Exactly. Yes, it's infuriating.
And above all, I think that sincerity is the most important thing, because with sincerity, you automatically have to customize and mold your argument to the person, in order to help them see it in the best way for them. Because Darth Dawkins wasn't doing this for me or the audience. He didn't care about how people perceived it or how perceived. He had no interest in transmitting his what he was actually thinking. He was in it for the W, and that was it. And I think that when you go in with it with sincerity and with less self-love and more selfless love, then that's when the conversations happen.
Well,
Yeah,
I agree.
I totally agree. Yeah.
I think it's also kind of a narcissistic rage that he gets into, that he does it for to stroke his own ego.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Well, I think Reformed epistemology is valid, but that's more subjective. Like, for myself, if I'm debating or having a discussion with someone, I think evidential data is the best way to come to any kind of conclusion, like with somebody else.
Yeah, agreed. I don't. If you want to see a good debate on this, there was Saitin Bruggencate debated Eric Hernandez.
Oh my! I cannot stand Eric Hernandez.
Oh,
really?
No. I remember that. Oh,
that little worm. I
You don't
cannot
like
handle that guy. I'm so sorry.
No, I like Eric Hernandez. Yeah,
I can't stand that guy.
really?
Why? Is he a Baptist?
I
watched him. I watched him on Iron Raw.
Oh yeah. If you like Aaron Raw, I mean, you won't like a lot of us, because Aaron is pretty unreasonable himself.
No, he's fairly reasonable. I'm sorry. I apologize. Eric Hernandez highly unreasonable in his discussion pretty recently. I did a whole video on it. I was obsessed with it. Like, it infuriated me to make. Yes, because he's talking about epistemology of one word, talking about faith versus the Bible.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. It was in a different debate with IP. Yeah.
Okay, let me talk about evidence for a second in an analogy. Okay, if that's your life preserver, it's like literally the size of a lightsaber. Like, there's nothing there. There's no meat to that argument. I had the same problem when I was debating intelligent design. Everyone was getting on my crap because they're telling me that there's a turbine in cells. And I go,
you're talking about with.
Yeah. And I say, there's no turbine in cells because a turbine, as we define it, is this. And they go, no, we define this as a thing that happens in engineering. You're like, no. There's a greater law. There's a more obvious law, is that complexity is not designed. So the more you say we're complex, the more that argument doesn't work. I'm fine with there might have been a God that created everything. I'm not good with a Christian God. It don't work.
See, I think
the great opinion. I mean, like, but it doesn't really get that far. Like,
it's a tiny little. What is that? What is that? I have mountains of evidence for evolution that I can just go find.
Yeah, but that doesn't negate the Christian God, right?
Because I believe in evolution. How though? I mean, but the things that negate a Christian God are all the niddly things.
Okay, for example, I think the Francis Collins approach that
why make
God,
why make them if you can't have them? Sorry.
Why make what? Why make what?
Gays. Why make gays?
I don't think that people would say that God made gays, but rather if you
make that about
so it's just like your claim earlier about like, well, didn't God make weed, right? Well, like you could just say like, well, didn't he make poison ivy, right? Like it's just if you know the theological response, it is that God made everything good and people were in paradise, and then after the fall, things started to. The ground became cursed and so forth. So that's the theological.
I would be a better God than that God.
But like something simpler, say like biological impulses get horny and they're attracted to somebody. You know, it doesn't happen after we get married. You know, it happens whenever we're young. You know, we always have these urges to have sex, and and defile ourselves.
What were you pointing out about it?
That that it's part of the design. That's what we were designed with, the biological impulse that goes directly against God's wishes when it comes to sexual morality.
Right.
Well, I could use two responses there. One, I could take the way of saying like, well, no, because God says control your desires. But then the other, I could take the same theological response I gave to the last one, that, well, in the Garden of Eden, God wasn't saying procreate. It wasn't until after the fact where procreation happened after the fall of man. So
and
that
this
could
is
be
already a better
conversation
conversation than what we had earlier, by the way.
Yeah. So, but one more thing about this pistis claim, because Eric Hernandez, the reason why he was kind of stuck on that pistis claim was because Aaron has been saying this non-standard definition of faith for a long time, and Aaron said 25 years.
That definition of faith is believing things for no rational reason.
Well, but the question that he asked Aaron was, can you cite a single scholar that would agree with you on that? And he couldn't.
But at that point, he was already agitated. Everyone could see that it was agitated. He said it in a tone, and you know that tone, because I'm empathetic as crap. I know when someone is pulling a tone. So this debate was very cringy for me because.
Have you seen Aaron's debate with Trent Doherty?
Oh no, I don't know. No.
Okay. I did a review of it on my channel. It was the first video I put out. Trent Doherty said that he had been granted, as a scholar, he was granted a 4-year grant to study faith and things, and a couple of other topics. And he said that not a single person that he surveyed in the field said that they agreed with his definition on it. And then he didn't back off of it a bit. He just goes, no, that's what Christians been telling me for 20 years, and they're wrong. And so it's just like,
but that's not his his thing isn't proof either. Like faith. Okay, listen, this is why these debates.
Faith is reasonable trust.
Right. I have faith this chair is going to hold me because it's held me a bunch of times. If this chair falls out from under me, that would shock the hell out of me because I have faith this chair is holding me.
Exactly.
I believe it. And I say the same thing about belief. Belief is that same, because English is fiddly and we use words for different things.
Yep.
Eric Hernandez is trying to use language in fiddly ways. I'm okay with you having people having spirituality. You guys are presumably fine with me thinking that's dumb. And we're okay with that, right? Because we're both different entities. The problem I have with Christianity, and the problem, and which makes me mad and makes Aaron mad, is Christianity as a group tends to butt its head into my business a lot, like on a regular basis. And it was a justification for slavery in this country. Like that's what white slave
actually,
owners
if you look
did
at the
say.
Bible,
That's incorrect.
No.
the Bibles that were given to slaves, the passages about slaves and
you
free
cannot
people
sell
being
me.
equal were taken out.
I'm not trying to be mean or dismissive.
Yeah.
You cannot sell me on the Bible.
Well, no, just listen to the claim and tell me I'm wrong.
I've heard it a million times. Matt Dillahunty's
let him say it. Let him say it.
What
I'm just trying to save you time.
The Bible, it's just that the pages that say things like there's no difference between free people and slaves, and then the other passages that say slave traders will be in hell with the liars and thieves were taken out of the Bibles that were given to the slaves because it would promote rebellion.
Okay, so that's a good point. That's a really good point.
It's not slave translation. What it says is what that word means is people who steal slaves from other people, people who kidnapped people into slavery.
Oh my
Well, I mean, I can grab my interlinear,
I'm
but it actually does
I've
say.
never read the Bible. I never will. I'm sorry.
The NIV actually went against the King James translation and translated it slave traders. So, I mean, I just talked about this the other night. Like, I mean, I could grab my interlinear and we could kind of go through it.
Yeah,
but I mean,
it's actually a fusion of two different words, and it's kind of like Paul uses arsenokoitai to mean somebody who beds men. Arsenos and koitai. It's a kind of they kind of invent a new word, and it gets translated as slave trader.
So Jim, is it like a textual variant?
It's a linguistic.
No, it's not a textual variant. I guess it'd be a variant amongst translations.
It's a developmental variant in linguistics. It's when languages change and new words are created to basically condense a concept into a shorter, easier word.
Right, but what about new versions that change it to slave trader? Like the King James version says something like man kidnapper or something like that.
Right, that's
nitpicking and cherry picking your evidence.
Right, that's a
fan. Well, they have, you realize that they have entire councils that of people who can't translate that do the translations. Right, I'm not saying that makes them right because obviously, I think some of the cases they're not exactly.
It's also a function of the synods that were introduced later on after the Council of Trent that modified the actual scripture itself too, in the various revisions of the Bible.
And you also have to take into account their source. Are we talking Dead Sea Scrolls, Masoretic texts? I mean, the Texas Receptus. Where are they getting their translations from, and how big of a sample size do they have? Because a lot of the manuscripts that exist today, probably over 4,000 of them are some that have only existed in the past couple hundred years, probably even less. Just because it wasn't really at the foresight of everybody or forethought of everybody.
So I think I think that there would probably be scholars on both sides that say, well, you could translate it, man kidnappers or slave traders or something like this.
I have this weird feeling that white slave owners would probably translate the Bible in a way that would directly benefit them. So that's probably what happened.
That's why a lot of the Bible has
That's what I was about to say. The reason why they took out the verses were because that was the point in the beginning, was because they would promote rebellion against, So
it's the same what I'm saying, but wrong.
Right.
I'm wrong, but they did exactly.
Even read, though.
They used the Bible to get slaves. Like they altered the Bible in that case, so that even though they probably could have been clever and just used what the Bible said if they wanted to. Because you're allowed to beat your slaves.
Well, let's be clear that it advocates for it and it regulates it, but it also gives them an ability to escape into a neighboring town where they could be taken into refuge and be given a home and things like that, or be given up after 7 years or 49 years.
I am not trying to derail something that's actually interesting. This has actually been interesting. Something just occurred to me during the debate. Somebody was doing a super chat, something, Duncan beating his wife. Does anyone know what that's about?
Heard about that.
Oh, yeah.
It's like juicy dish, and that's what this should be about.
Yes.
Why
I've
would
heard rumors about that. I don't know what it is, but I've been hearing about that myself.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a clue about that, but
His
it's probably hearsay as far as I know.
It is.
Probably.
his real name is out
Say.
there.
Well, I mean, there's a
No,
lot of
it's-
trolls out there, you know.
It's really not. Even his kids are actually the ones who released it.
Wow, that's crazy.
Well, I would just say
right. He did
that-
that. Yeah, that was like 5 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I would just say that Darth or Duncan or whatever, actually said something really funny, like in the debate. Actually, I want to, I just want to point this out because I actually laughed when he said it. Somebody sent in a super chat that said, "Oh, yeah, I want to debate him on this topic, and I'm going to beat him or something like that." And then James was like, "You want to respond?" And he goes, "Yeah, yawn." And I was like, "Oh wow!" Like at least he got one shot in there, right?
I think that was that
Yeah,
same
good
guy
one.
that was trying
Yeah, that
to.
was good.
I heard about that last time when he was on with Shannon Q.
That was pretty
You
funny.
got
Yeah.
you got to admit, Jim. In hindsight, it's pretty funny.
The whole debate is hilarious in hindsight.
Oh yeah, it was,
During it's
hilarious.
I
I regret saying that I grounded my my everything in my left testicle. I don't know where that came from, but other than that, it went all right.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, Andrew and some others. Like, I don't want to bring out all of Darth Dawkins' like dirty
It's
laundry
relevant.
hair on.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
but I don't.
Kent Hovind stole taxes. That's relevant because why does Kent Hovind say what he says? So he can dupe stupid people into going down to his stupid farm and doing farm labor for free. Like the first 15 minutes of every Kent Hovind video is begging for money and not in the fun, hey, subscribe to my Patreon.
Darth
This takes
Dawkins
3
is looking
seconds
for a
away
wife.
in a. There you go.
You know, it's interesting because I haven't actually watched any Kent Hovind videos in like, I don't know, 7 or 8 years.
My friends
Besides
are worried about me.
him being on Modern Day Debate, but so I haven't really seen all that. But
I've seen his property and I have a lot of questions. I have a lot of questions.
well, he
I mean,
served.
he's helped Modern Day Debate out a lot. I mean, he's almost always available to come on, and you know, he's really helped us in the past.
Yeah,
Gummy Bears.
Paying so many taxes. It's
Gummy
fine.
Bears asked, "Am I an atheist?" The answer is no. I'm actually one of those like stinking dirty Christians.
I wouldn't call you a stinking dirty Christian.
Oh, you're
Paid
not.
my rights, and then you are one. I think you can be a Christian over there in Hallelujah all you want, and ask me where I get my morals from, and I go, I don't know, you get yours, man. And then we all go have barbecue because I make badass barbecue. So you guys Christians don't have that all to yourselves. I'm just saying, like.
Well, I think.
Well, you know what's interesting is I got to hang out with Aaron Raw on Sunday, and he's actually pretty cool until the topic of religion comes up. He was in Dallas.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
His family was directly screwed over because they were Mormons. Like the Mormons were treated so badly in this country for doing an offshoot of a religion you guys like so well that it was legal to kill them in certain states until like the
Missouri.
Missouri.
Yeah, Missouri.
But they didn't renounce their belief.
When they started their religion.
It wasn't
It's
until
like
the mid
religion.
80s that the law was rescinded.
It's like murder's a bad thing no matter what you think, isn't it? It's like murder's like stupid because if you kill the
this
thing,
is kind of
then
like a jab or a low blow or whatever, but I got to throw it in there. Is the fact that they were willing to die for their belief evidence that Joseph Smith really translated the golden plates?
that sounds like I mean that's an argument I've heard.
Actually, I would actually say, according to probability, it does lend to their credibility. It doesn't prove it, but it may even be bad evidence.
I would say that
it is. Hold on a second. But it is more than it is a non-zero. It is a more. It improves it by a number greater than zero.
I'd say
I would
it
agree with
speaks
that.
to
It's
their
non-zero. I'd agree with that.
I would say it speaks to their conviction on their belief more than any type of evidentiary belief.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
see,
I agree with that.
there's a
100%.
defeater for that. That tablet turned out to be like something Egyptian writing or something like that. I mean, that's been disproven.
Yeah. So
I mean, Matt Dillon said it best. Just because Yahweh exists doesn't mean I have to like him or worship him or think he is, you know.
Look what Gummy Bear said.
Lucifer sounds kind of fresh to me. Like it sounds like if everyone had to obey one guy all the time, the guy that I want to be is the guy that goes, no, and convinces 1/3 of the guys that are doing that to follow me. That's the guy I want to be, baby.
Look what this Gummy Bears guy said. He said, Converse Contender, with all the atheist mods you have, literally have the wolves guarding the sheep. I got to be honest with you. Like,
James is Christian, isn't he?
Even who?
Isn't James Christian?
Yeah, James, but he's talking about the mods in my chat. A lot of the mods in my chat are Andrew T and Brian Stevens and Tony Designs and Math Pig and a lot of these guys. So, but it's pretty funny because I've actually been really well accepted by the non-believers. And even when I go on my talks about, they'll ask me questions in my live streams, and I'll just be like, "Yeah, look, you know, I grew up playing in bands and things, and I just got introduced to Christ. I wasn't, you know, very religious, and then I started listening to him, like listening to his words and seeing him kick over money changing tables in the religious temples, and like seeing like no difference between male or female, Jew, Greek, like all these different things, and I'm like, it's pretty awesome, you know. And then you know, but even when I say stuff like that and start getting on like a little tangent, they'll just be like, whatever, he's a Christian, you know. Like, they don't try to hold you.
That's literally proselytizing. I'm okay with that if I get equal time to talk about how great Spider-Man is, because I actually think Spider-Man is a better role model. Superman is definitely a better role model, made by Jews. All the superpowers, never bad. And when they do make him bad, it's always bad. It's never written well. What does that tell you? He's perfect. So I don't think there's any problem.
Yeah, but take those examples.
No, but I think they're better than Jesus. All of them.
Yeah, but take those examples, right? If we were inventing a story like Superman, Jim will know this. It's the criterion of embarrassment, where if they were actually just making up stuff about this guy Jesus, their Messiah, right? He was this hero. They wouldn't make up the fact that that one of his closest disciples denied knowing him 3 times. One of them doubted that he rose from the dead. One of them sought him out for 30 pieces of silver. Like, you would create something where it'd be like, yeah,
but we can't establish historicity based solely on that, though, because like,
no, I agree. It's just
we take like the infant gospels, you know, like the criterion of embarrassment would kill his classmate, or Jesus wouldn't, you know, do these things that he shouldn't be doing. You know,
but in
these miracles that a kid would with infinite power. But we wouldn't say that the infinite gospels are historic.
But in the infinite gospel, he doesn't.
It helps,
kill this person, right?
But I don't think we can establish historicity based solely.
Yeah, but
he actually kills his classmate and then brings him back to life.
Off the roof, right, and brings him back to life. But whenever he brings him back to life, the guy goes, "No, he didn't kill me," right? It's an odd story, but also I see it as an apologetic story, because when things try to fill in blanks in the originals, I see, like the Book of Jubilees, right? If you read the Book of Jubilees, it's called like Little Genesis or something, but like it tries to fill in like who was Cain's wife, what was her name, and like all these little facts that the Bible unapologetically left out, right?
Do you think that there's a good chance that there's internal filler, like within the like say the synoptic gospels? Do you think that there's like filler within the stories? You know what I mean, like within the books themselves, not as a whole, but
there's
within.
Tons of things that are not in the Bible that are super interesting, and I agree. I think if those were in there regularly, they removed a lot of things because they sounded more silly. But a lot of stuff involving Jesus's young life and a bunch of other things, those are all completely cut out of the Bible. My grandfather
weren't cut out.
My grandfather became an atheist because they changed the Bible 3 times in his lifetime. And
a lot of this stuff was never included. There are many books, like Revelation at the time in different churches throughout the area that were never included in the Bible at the Council of Trent and at other synods too.
Well, wait a second.
Right.
They-
Well, and even
they
up
messed
until the 4th century, we find extant manuscripts and extant Bibles that have the Bell and the Dragon, the Maccabees, and Enoch, and all these other books, Jude, and even passages. And then you got problems like the long ending of Mark, the pericope adulterae, and a lot of other interpolations that really have theological significance, like 1 John 1:3-7, I believe it is. It's
Call Me Johannium?
That's really core theology, and yet all the best evidence shows us that it was an interpolation, and it led me to believe as a Christian is the Trinity true? Because it seems like they're really going out of their way that they would interpolate something to,
You're talking about 1 John 5:7, right? That's the Call Me Johannium.
What did I say?
You said
Did I say
1
3,
through
7?
Yeah, I think you said 3 through 7.
I'm sorry.
I'm hearing,
but hang on a second, because
477, not 493.
Because we actually have in the 200s we have Cyprian quoting 1 John 5:7, and it's not just a homily. He says
but he's
that
not quoting it from John.
Written.
But he's not quoting it from
does.
John. He doesn't cite where it's from.
Well, he doesn't actually cite, but you would one would think that if he's citing it from somewhere in the 2nd century, it would have to be from an early source, right? Predating the 3rd century.
But one could always came from another source, right? Exactly.
Sure. But I mean, even if it was Q, we have to assume that the early church had this writing, right?
Well, would you
like before the 400?
You say the same thing about the Apocrypha?
No, I'm talking about 1 John 5:7. If Cyprian's quoting from it and saying it was written, which is a formulation that is used of Scripture, it would have to have been from, let's say, the Q source, or from John, or from some early source, right?
Yeah, I believe in the Q source, but that's a different story. I've done a lot of research on it, and it doesn't seem really convincing to me. But
well, I got one more thing I wanted to ask Jim, and then we'll bring in praise. We talked about the we talked about the Carmen Christi Philippians 2, right? About that is said to be, by even liberal scholars, to be an early hymn of the church. Like, do you buy that as well? That predated Paul?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, same thing with 1 Corinthians 15. I think that was a very early creed.
Okay, that's all I was wondering. Praise, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's up, Jim? Jim's left nut and everyone else. That was so hilarious when I heard that.
I'm Jim's right nut, so.
I was wondering, what did you think about it, about the discussion, Praise?
I thought it was ridiculous. I thought Darth was trying to bully Jim. I thought that was reprehensible. I would have booted him out of there. That's just me, though.
Yeah, I wish James was a little more aggressive about the muting. I think James is sometimes a little afraid to use his power that we expect him to wield, because but I think he had grounds to. You don't need to get personal. You know what I mean? There's no reason to be calling people stupid. That's
right. He just tried to overtalk Jim and everything. I just wanted to hear Jim speak. I couldn't even hear him speak. That was ridiculous.
There was no good. Yeah, I agreed.
Well, that's DD's MO. He's always done that.
That is his part of his shtick, if you want to call it that.
So, Gummy Bears, you're not the only Christian. You got Messenger Reveals. I think Being Mindful. You got Praise. You got me. You got Travis Lee.
Atheists are never triggered. We're above that sort of thing. All atheists are never triggered.
Sure.
That's silliness.
I've seen some triggeredness.
I thought Jim handled himself pretty well. I would have got pissed. I would have said, F you, dude. Like, get the frick off.
You got his one in there. It's PG-13 still. Yeah, you told him to fuck off, and we all cheered.
Actually, you know what? Yes, actually, I got to say this, okay? I actually owe Jim a little bit of an apology, okay? And so I should say that, like, in our discussion, right, when our first debate we had on the Trinity, right, I think we both did pretty well. But I did not know Jim's background, okay? So you got to think about, like, where I'm coming from. And when I look, like, so I'm looking through my, like, scholarly sources or whatever. And then just to get a written definition, I go to Wikipedia to see what their definition is. And then I see like these, like a formulation of like certain steps, right? That the Trinity is this, there's these certain councils, there's this, blah, blah, blah. And then when Jim gave his case, it was almost, he almost laid it out exactly as they had it. And so I asked Jim in the debate something like, you didn't happen to get this information from Wikipedia, did you? And or something like that. And he was like, what? No, what? No. Like, and then I realized later that he told me, he's like, no, I'm in school for biblical studies. And I'm like, oh, my bad, Jim. Like, so I feel like I owe you an apology for that.
You don't owe me anything to know me from Peter. No skin off my back.
If I would have pulled that, you would have been right, because I will not read it. So no offense.
Well, I definitely didn't mean it. Like, you know,
I also don't read Superman comics. Fuck that shit.
I realized that Jim's a lot more sophisticated than the majority of people
I'm a media guy
from the other side.
Thanks, man.
I'm on the debate tomorrow, by the way, that you're modding. So
yeah,
Is that who I'm debating? Is you?
Yeah,
sweet.
Yeah. Debate
are you pro? You're the pro porn, or you're the anti porn guy?
I'm anti-porn.
I'm pro porn. How's it going?
Okay.
Nobody is
I'm
truly
not gonna do
anti-porn. I don't care what you say, sinner. Nobody's anti-porn.
I got problems with porn. There's been issues in the past. I think they're getting a lot better though.
Yeah, I think you could make a case like how Jordan Peterson or somebody makes a case about the men losing their testosterone.
That's not true. That's absolutely not true.
About like how men put
which men exactly? Do you have a study on men that are actually being cucked by porn? Because I'd like to see that study.
I mean, there's
actually
some studies that are being
he can
used by, like,
demonstrate that porn got the whole porn problem got a whole lot better whenever they switched from 480 to 1080. It changed. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, but I do think that you could make a good argument the way Peterson does that. I mean, you would like he wouldn't go into like it being immoral. He would say something like, you know, it would ruin the fabric of, you know.
Is the entire point of a relationship to get your nut off?
Not my relationship.
Then who cares if you get your nut off somewhere else? It's just a thing we do. Like sex is already everyone in this whole world
outside.
People take sex way too seriously in general. Like that's already. I'm a polyamorous individual, so it's already. I'm already thinking it's weird.
They
what? That? Cut out right at the end for your joke.
We missed you, Jim. Whatever you just said.
Oh, sorry. I was saying. You do recall that one time when God killed somebody because they wasted the seed.
Onan, yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to go by that argument, I don't have much to say about it except that's.
Yeah, I mean, you could make like
catch it in a little cup. Go put it to a.
Yeah, I mean, if you were like a moralist in the a totally natural moralist, like I could see somebody who was like a purist arguing something similar to that for like evolutionary purists, right? I mean, completely the opposite way though. But you see what I'm coming from with that, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's anything to do with like wasting seed or anything. I would say it's a violation of the Levirate marriage clause, or even the part of the law.
Yeah, marriage is.
Well, no, that wasn't it, because he was supposed to impregnate her, and it was because he pulled out. That was the issue, was that he did not come inside her.
Right. So he was evading Levirate marriage, but. Yeah, I mean, I think back then they were with God, so I think it's more severe back then because they actually seen and experienced God. To us today, that seems pretty stupid, you know, like, why would God give a crap about something like that? Well,
modern day
back then it could be actually could be problematic, though, with the seed to Christ, even, you know, the bloodline to Christ. So that's just one of the arguments that I bring up.
Well, it could also be because of a cultural norm, and also because infant mortality could have been, would have been incredibly high. And, especially in a tribalistic society like that, the Jews, that, you wanted a population. You had to keep a population up. You don't want to waste that stuff.
By tribalistic societies, you just mean everybody, because we all were tribalistic.
Nomadic tribe, moving the tabernacle every few days. That's crazy.
Yeah, you got to have some labor for that. You also have to have, you have to have people, because also remember that this is a time when people died of war, disease, famine, all this other stuff.
Good thing we cured all that, right, guys?
No, we
That's
did.
when they needed to save the most.
But that's hey, don't waste that, man. We need people.
Yeah, I missed a lot of that. But whoever, I forget who just said, somebody, Philip or whatever, just asked what channel is the porn debate going to be on. It's actually going to be on Modern Day Debates channel. Just hit subscribe up ahead. Actually, Jim, SJ said in the comments on that discussion that she wanted to have a debate with you on the resurrection. I would fully host that discussion, unbiased moderation.
We've had about 5 debates set up, and something keeps happening. But I'm always up for a debate. Always.
Yeah, I love debates too.
Awesome. Yeah, so Praise and Jim, that'd make another good one.
Yeah, we were though. We were thinking about doing with the Mosaic authorship. I thought that'd be a pretty good one.
I'll mod it on Modern Day Debate or something. That'd be awesome. Or on my channel if you ever. So hey, hang on a second. We got what is your name, Phil?
Yeah, well, my real name's Michael. I don't know what's easier. I'll answer to either. My internet persona is an internet bunny.
Gotcha.
Named Phil Bunny.
All right. So Phil, I got to tell you this, Kay. It's going to come off wrong and abrasive.
Oh no, I already know I'm not very well liked already. I'm very well aware of the criticisms.
It's not like, okay, so I just thought about it the other night. You were debating, I think, true empiricism and somebody else.
Yeah.
And I got to say, in that debate, I found you to be so like slippery, and because I think it's because you were trying to be
disagree.
Comedic.
Nope, I disagree. I disagree because I don't think he addressed any of my points whatsoever. So I feel like everyone took my points as like, haha, he's joking. I legitimately don't see a difference between Jesus Christ and Santa Claus. So why would I think there's an intelligent designer? Because I can point to all the reasons why evolution is a real thing. I don't feel like this is baby school. How many? And also, don't take this the wrong way, but we're making content, right, guys? This is supposed to be entertaining. So if I can't be funny, I don't got much to market other than I can look things up. Will for this thing, because apparently.
Yeah, let me ask Phil a question though. Do you think the propositions of Santa Claus and the
I think Santa Claus has more basis in reality than some things, yeah. Like King Arthur. Like King Arthur has this much basis in reality.
Yeah.
But is there a lady in the lake? No. Did Elvis do drugs? No. Elvis didn't do no drugs.
But would you say the propositions of Santa Claus and the Christian God are the same? Would you think that they're comparable?
Yeah, sure.
No, I've got some chicken teeth that for sale if you want to buy some.
I would say that at least the Christian God is eternal, and I would say that he's invisible.
Santa Claus lives forever on the North Pole. What are you even talking about? And if you kill Santa Claus, you are forced to become Santa Claus. And it's called the Santa Claus.
He's still a contingent being, though. That's my point.
Remember, like, every year there's an elf purge, and the last elf becomes the next Santa Claus.
Yeah. So I mean, I would just have to say though, like,
they're little
that's a good
kids.
example. Like, that's a good example because, like, let's just humor that for a second about Santa Claus, right? That's a claim that we can look at surveys from the North Pole and verify whether that would be the case or not, right?
It's invisible. You really can't see it as well.
Gotcha.
There's like a dome.
But
there's a ferment, if you will.
But one thing about like the approach of some. One thing about the approach of some atheists that I see is like you got to think though, like if you,
I am thinking.
I was listening to a philosopher talk about this on that philosophy's tool chest, and he was like, if you really think about it, you're like, well, obviously Christianity is this stupid fairy tale or whatever, right? You got to contend with the fact that you're saying, and it comes off kind of arrogant that, well, of course, over 2 billion people are wrong, and less than 4% of the Earth's population are right.
No. You can't help that people have been systematically lying. You can't help that you've been systematically fed a lie your entire life. You're fed many lies, like that climate change isn't real, or that capitalism is good for you.
Right, but I'm saying from the atheist perspective, you have to go like we, mostly white Western people, we have been smarter than the rest of the world. You know what I mean? It's almost an arrogant claim like that. And I'm not saying
it's not even close to what I'm saying. And that's a very rude thing to. You would not lump me in that because science comes from Middle Eastern. Stop, please. Middle Eastern folk invented how we come up with a scientific method, and they're brown as fuck. So if I'm going to say that white people are superior, which is what the argument you're making, in claim of atheist. Like, this is your analogy. It's not the same analogy because I was born white. I became an atheist. I looked at the available evidence and I went, computer, what do we think? And the computer spit out, God not real. Okay, God not real. Let's move on with our lives. That's how my brain moved on, because also I don't think that, there's all these things that you can come to me and I go, yeah, well, so?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't making an appeal to a ad populum or anything like that.
That's what it sounded like, yeah.
Well, sure, that's not what I was doing. What I was just saying is that I said you have to contend with the facts when you say something
that people have been lied to systematically. Yeah, that's what's happened. Like the problem is capitalism. Even if you don't
begging the question.
No, I'm not. This is the problem, right? I see the actual. I'm like the Matrix dude that sees the green lines, and you're like, don't you see the lady? I'm like, no, they're all green.
Are you sure about that?
Yes.
You sure you're not the person doing everything?
Yes, because it's capitalism. So tell me how Christianity is billions of people. Can you tell me?
Can I tell you?
Yeah, right now, just right off the top of your head, just out of historical knowledge, how is Christianity? Yeah. Just good old-fashioned ministry, right? Telling dumb folk that if they're just good enough and they give me a little bit of your money, that you're going to heaven, buddy.
So you're
I'm sorry, I'm okay with dying forever.
So you're claiming that it's all due to colonization.
Yeah, and it's good. Colonization is of the three core problems with humanity. It is capitalism, sexism, and colonialism or imperialism. Believing that one culture or one selection of people is better than another. I argue that fusion foods are better than foods from one place or another. If you combine,
Hebrew Israelites are better than non-Hebrew Israelites.
We crave diversity as creatures. How can you not see this?
Take a break.
I want to bang Asian girls because they're different than me. Come on.
First of all, let me say this.
Creatures crave diversity.
Because like a lot of times atheists, not all the time, right? A lot of times atheists want to bring up some obscure fact.
A lot of times Christians rape little kids.
What?
This is the argument you're starting.
That's a random fact.
No, it's not a random fact.
We call them Catholics.
Yeah, I know that. And there's also hardcore religious people do all kinds of atrocities.
Hard to listen to the debate the other night because like one side's starting to say something, you're like, well, what about this random fact out of nowhere? Like
because you're saying this is how you're starting. This is how you're starting. I've noticed that atheists do this. I've noticed that Christians do this.
Yeah, but
what I'm saying in return to that.
Yeah, but what I was bringing up is something that you guys just did. It's not some random fact, right? I was just going to say, atheists typically do what you guys have done, like with slavery or some obscure fact about the Old Testament, right? And they say something like, well, yeah, but the Bible promoted slavery, right? But what I would say rather, and you may not have heard this perspective, I'm not sure, because I haven't really heard it defended anywhere, but like I would say something like, well, the Bible, if it promoted slavery, it was kind of odd about it. Just everything about slavery in the Old Testament was regulating it. But not only that, but I take Christ's words, like when he says things like, well, yeah, but Moses gave you that law, for example, because of the hardness of your heart. So like my thing is that the people back then were being shaped by God because they were barbaric. So God chose these people to start shaping. Right.
Obey your
Can you name another thing that God did not like that he allowed and regulated?
One at a time. One at a time.
Can you name another thing that God did not like, but yet he regulated?
Right. Why isn't it in the 10 Commandments?
Why is what in the 10 Commandments?
Do not own other human beings. You're fine. I gotta get a drink.
As far as slavery goes, like I agree with you. I wouldn't say that he promoted it, but rather he regulated it. But in order to regulate something, you have to first permit it on whatever scale you're regulating. And he did it in a way that he chose one people over the other. He favored one over the other, and he allowed chattel slavery, indentured slavery, bond slavery, and in the of making people or pay, or you could even your children into slavery. With Joseph, of course, that's exactly what happened with Joseph. He got sold into slavery by his brothers. And that was something that's always bothered me, and I can never reconcile.
Yeah, but I'd like to respond to that by saying, can you show that these laws are legislative first?
Legislative or practiced? Because I can show you several times where they're practiced.
Well, it entails government. That entails some type of central organized government.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have plenty of citation from many engineer scholars that show they're not legislative. That means you can't connect it to God in any way or any fashion. So, I mean, that's how I respond to that real quick.
I mean, maybe like if we're talking like about the Code of Hammurabi, like we can say that it was something that was more of a template rather than something that was adhered to directly. But that didn't mean that people were still justified in punishing them for things that. The way that it says or for acting it out, because it was still a parameter. It might not have been one that they towed the line on, but it was nonetheless still a parameter.
Yeah, women were killed because we're not supposed to suffer a witch to live. So I'm just saying, like, I have problems with Christianity because of...
Yeah, I mean, I just see like what text Jim's talking about. I like to check each text out, because I think that's what you have to do is go text by text.
Wow, that's boring.
Instead of just lumping them all together and say, "Oh, slavery." I'm saying, I mean, I've exposed so many misconceptions, even from scholars like Josh Bowen. I mean, that's just my opinion anyway. But if you want to run a debate on this, I'd love to.
Yeah, we can.
Can I ask your motivation?
Sure.
I understand. What is the motivation for you guys? I'm curious. I know why Kent Hovind does what he does.
What motivation for what?
Just believing in God.
I will
motivate you
for believing in God.
I want people to know why they believe what they believe, and I want to educate them as much as possible, and try to do it from as much of a biased perspective as I possibly can. I don't think that there's that's out there in good in good quantity, and I want to remedy that.
I gotcha, but I would say that it's God's love, and I felt God's love is awesome. He loves everyone in this stream here. So unfortunately, some people don't know that.
That's rude.
I would say
according to Darth, God has made himself known to all
Darth,
of us through revelation.
He even booted me out of his room too. I think he's a fake anyway. I'm just being honest with that.
No,
I would say I don't think that people actually know their first and second order beliefs, like why they actually believe things. So I mean, you can, yeah, you
know why I believe things.
So does everybody else.
Right.
What my point is, like,
here's what your motivation is. It's obviously not money, right? It's not money.
Finish, and I'll get to it.
Okay.
Right. So I don't think that you can completely, say for sure like how I got to my belief, right? Because like I have friends that are psychologists, and like they would give a different take on it than I would. But like I would say probably for the same reason why 95% of the world believed in God. If that was your question, that there's something. Just because there's something innate in that fact. If you're just talking about God,
I think your average Christian that goes to church maybe once a week or like twice a month or whatever, or they skip it if there's a really good football game. I think that average Christian doesn't think about this on any level. They're just trying to make sure when they die, they don't go to hell because somebody told them there's a hell.
Well, that's a bad reason, right? Because
I agree. But
yeah, that's a bad motivation. But like, if you look at my Twitter, for example, like my little bio just says, don't follow Christians and don't follow Christianity, but just follow Christ. Like, because I don't think most of the time I get what Christians do or what Christianity says brought up, and I just go, well, where did Christ say it? Like, but
you understand that Christ isn't doing anything currently, and we have to deal with these Christians. Like, no offense, y'all. You seem like great people that don't go into other people's business, but there's literally people on television who are anti-Semites. Then they got your flag. Some of them are Baptists, some of them are Catholics. I'm like, there's
there are plenty that agree with your persuasions as well, right?
What do you mean?
There's also
plenty of anti-Semites that agree with your.
And I think
that
we all need to be aware of what is going on within our respective groups, and we want to reflect not necessarily what the group is, but I think if each individual reflected what the group ought to be, then the world would be a much better place.
Right. So this Dunkin' Donuts guy, right? He doesn't represent y'all. You guys are reasonable debaters. You're there to have an interesting conversation. He's not there for that. He's there for the W because he's an insecure fuck, right? We can all read that because there's no way he's making money on this, right?
No. Yeah. So one thing I want to
You
say is
can
that
see the motivation right away. You know, my motivation is I care about things. I don't know. Maybe I could elaborate on that. But like, atheists get accused of doing everything just for money because we're materialists, and it's not our fault that everything runs on money. But like, we have to run on materials. Like, I eat materials for a living.
yeah. So let me just say one thing about
I really am not. I'm just trying to figure out why people talk. Because like, if I know why you're talking about it, then I understand the behavior. Because like, if I go, your religion's silly, that should not offend you if you're really convicted, right?
Yeah, so Hannah says Pascal's wager, which she was responding to what you said about people believing so they don't go to hell. Like, I just wanted to say, and I've said this on my stream plenty of times, if people who follow me know, like, I think Pascal's wager is the worst argument for Christianity. Like, I just find it like, well, hey, yeah, but like, just think about it in layman's terms. Just, well, you know. I mean, if you just believe, like, you're not going to suffer, like, would God want you to believe just to like on a bet? Like, well, I bet, like, it's just a lame reason.
Yeah. Well, and if you look at it from an atheistic perspective, that when you die, that there is nothing, of course you won't realize it, but everybody will be dying, not living their life to its full potential because they're so busy trying to please and to stand up and to adhere to this almost impossible standard, our entire lives, only for us to waste the one and only thing that we have.
I've got an atheist afterlife.
I would say that's anti-gospel, though. We're not going to be approved by our self-righteousness, how we live the law. I would say it's more by grace and God's love. That's how we're driven by.
Define grace.
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on if you're a Pauline Christian or a Petrine Christian.
Yeah,
I'm
just saying. I mean, that's my position.
Before I can say anything on any topic, you know what I mean? Because grace is a real.
I would say that's unmerited favor, or it's something that God bestows on someone that they're not going to be condemned if they fall, like if they sin, if they lie. There's grace there because we're in the dispensation of grace.
I don't remember in the Bible
what
where
about
it says
Judas.
Can you? I'm pretty
Jesus
sure
knew that Judas was going to betray him, and it had been thousands of years before Judas. Then does that mean that Judas went to heaven?
It says repented. Yeah, that's a good point. I would say that God forgave him.
Oh, well.
It didn't say repent.
There and he was
didn't repent.
Wait a second. One at a time.
The word that they used there was to show remorse or to like feel sorry for. But that's not true repentance.
Yeah,
true
here's the thing with that is,
I'm not judged, but for me, I would say that
you path and try to fix yourself.
I don't know. I'm not judged, but I would say God can forgive him. I say that's available if God wanted to.
Yeah, and here's the
if
thing:
God
it's like
right,
people don't
God's plan, like kind of like he hardened Pharaoh's heart. So did he punish Pharaoh for something that he was responsible for? That God himself was responsible for?
I would love to respond to that after you continue.
First of Pharaoh hardened his own heart first, like so. But I would just point out that repentance is not something that like we don't see repentance as something you just say that you are sorry for what you did, but rather it's something like turning away. So if Judas betrayed Christ, how is he gonna like? You can't just turn away from that after that, right? Because like he could say that he was sorry for it, but like metanoia, Jim, like we see that more as like a turning from your wrongness, right?
Well, Virgil says he's in the mouth of Satan. He's one of the three betrayers.
And Exodus 4:21 says the Lord said to Moses. Oh, sorry.
Jim's like breaking up.
But
yeah, you're breaking up, Jim.
It says when you go back to
I'm gonna run and
before
grab some
Pharaoh, all
drink.
the
I'll be
wonders
right
that I
back.
put in your power, but I will so that you will not let the people go. And then and it says, then you shall say to the Pharaoh, thus says the Lord, Israel is my firstborn son. I said to you, go that he may worship me. But you refuse to let him go. Now I will kill your firstborn son. And this is before he did any of the plagues. And then in Exodus 9, it says that he hardened his heart again. It was after the boils, he hardened his heart again in 10 or 11, I believe. But it never is it Pharaoh hardening his own heart. From the very beginning, it's God.
Well, yeah. Can I respond to that real quick, Converse?
Yeah.
Well, if you read 1 Samuel 6:6, that actually says that don't harden your heart like Pharaoh did. But here's another thing. Once you look up, Jim, the word harden there is an active verb, and this is even by Bullinger. I don't know if you ever heard of Bullinger, but he is a theologian. But he showed if it's in the active form, it means to permit. God permitted Pharaoh to harden his heart. Doesn't mean that God actively hardened Pharaoh's heart. So that's something to look
It says,
into.
"But I will harden his heart." And if you look at Joshua 11:20, there's another one that's talking about the inhabitants of Gibeon and the Hivites. It says, "For it was the Lord's doing to harden their hearts, so that they would come against Israel in battle, in order that they might be utterly destroyed.
But it's an active form,
no
though.
mercy, but be exterminated."
Yeah, it's an active form verb, though. That means that it means permit. If you just check out Bullinger,
Not
I think
permit,
he
but
addresses that.
cause.
Like I said, look up Bullinger. He actually gives a whole explanation, whole study on that. Just, in fact, after this, I'll have to send you the link.
Okay.
This just sounds like two comic book nerds arguing over which issue a thing came out of. I did this analogy already. That is terrible internet content. I hope nobody does that on Modern Day Debate. James deserves much better than that, unless it's religion versus religion, because then those people come. Whew, I glazed over hard.
How's this for terrible? I'd like to defend Pascal.
I mean, I realize,
I would love for you to defend
non-believers and
Pascal.
skeptics,
I love
this is
this.
stupid, but I'm saying if God opens your eyes, or if you get your eyes open, you'll see this is not stupid stuff. I'm just saying right now, I understand that, but I'm saying you can get to the point where you'll understand that.
The fifth commandment.
I would like to hear
that,
Nicholas.
Yeah, please.
Sorry, I don't mean to walk over this current conversation.
Yeah, no. If like I see if Pascal's point is just that stakes are high, like I get it, right? But if there's some deeper point that I'm missing, perhaps
I think there is. You know, when I first heard Pascal, I thought it was really stupid, and I think that the wager as it's presented in the public is really stupid. But you should understand that this was posthumously published, and it wasn't something that he was presenting to other people. And from Pascal's perspective, it's being argued by philosophers now that he was considering it as a dichotomy between Christianity being true and atheism basically being true. And I realize that's not a good dichotomy, but if you're already in that worldview and you're considering those two possibilities, he also thought there was evidence for Christianity. And so in his probability calculus, he was looking at the different options and where the evidence lied, and he was pursuing the evidence. It was an evidence-based argument. And I agree that it's not good because it deals with all kinds of false dichotomies, and you can set up other proposed wagers, and you could maybe even give better evidence than there is for Christianity for those other options. But for Pascal, who was writing this in his own journals to himself, it was a good consideration. I think it was a valid consideration for him.
I didn't know that it was released after his death. That makes it very interesting that it should even be, you know what I mean? Like maybe we shouldn't take it as seriously because maybe it wasn't a fully...
Yeah, I just don't appreciate the way that modern people use it. It's the way that it's used is just super lame. Like
I could argue that the thousand hells of China or whatever it was sounds way worse. Like
yeah, and when you're considering those other possibilities, like I think those are problems with what Pascal was considering. But if that's where your headspace is, it does make sense. And I think we could consider his kind of a wager in a different example, like for instance, the idea of morals. You can think, well, there seems to be some evidence for morals because there's intuition or something like that, but I don't know if morals exist. We can say it's either true that morals exist or they don't exist. And maybe if I live as though morals exist, I will help develop my moral system and interact well with other people and develop context where this possibly good thing will develop, as opposed to if morals don't exist, it doesn't really matter how I live. I can't be blameworthy or praiseworthy in terms of morality.
Could I make a point?
Hey, Jim, I put that in the chat for you. I put it there for you.
All right, man, we have a lot of early indicators for serial killers, correct?
What?
Serial killers, people who we would all unilaterally consider to be amoral individuals, correct? John Gacy,
Darth
your
Dawkins.
yeah, your Charles Mansons, your Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah,
okay.
predilection towards fire, setting fires, torturing animals,
torturing animals, but also one of the right across the board, head trauma at a young age.
Yeah,
and that scrambles up your chemicals, and your chemicals are what's important. Trans rights matters. Your chemicals can be chemical. Like this can be.
I mean, I might object to that because I've seen hard serial killers actually find God, repent, and they don't.
Yeah, usually in jail
like
when they can't do anything else to anyone else.
so
Yeah, weird. That's
saying.
very convenient. That's a very convenient time. Too bad they didn't do that before they killed the first person. Correct?
I've also seen a lot of children have head trauma and not turn out to be serial killers.
That's true.
So
It's not always true. It's not always true. And we should probably not let kids play football just in case. There's a lot of other indicators. It's not just the head trauma. You also need to learn that some negative thing is appropriate, usually from a parental figure. There's more than one, but head trauma is one of the major ones, like right across the board. Like seriously, it's like sexual abuse, head trauma, and then the indicators after that are they tortured animals,
obsession with fire.
Yeah, sometimes obsession with fire, not always.
I was watching a really interesting portion of an interview with Orson Welles where he said that he spent a day working as a medium. So he was reading people's minds and things like that, and he was using cold reading and warming people up with that technique. Yeah. And he talked about this concept of shut-eye, where people will take signs in order to read certain things, and they'll use certain tricks like, oh, you probably have a scar on your knee, or you had a big change in your life somewhere between 13 and 15 and things like that, and use that to warm the person up. And he said that yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he said among these charlatans, there is a concept called a shut-eye, where the charlatan begins to believe that they have these abilities. And so they forget that they're pointing to these things that are really common and would be really true. And they stop realizing that they're reading people and they think they have this special ability.
John Edwards was a little bit like that.
It's called believing your own bullshit.
Yep.
There you go.
I think that's a particularly scummy thing, that John Edwards guy. Like, just polluting someone's memories is such a horrible thing to do, especially if they're dead loved ones. As an atheist, right? The only thing I've got left of my grandpa is what I remember of him, and I lose that a little bit every day. And that's fucked up, right? Well, it'd be really more fucked up if some guy was like, your grandfather wanted you to give me $20. Like, why? Sorry, I just don't like John Edwards at all.
Well, and the next patriarch you know idea about, and odds are, you're four generations ahead of you probably don't even know their name.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know my grandpa Buck's name. That's actually true. That's my great grandfather on my mom's side. I don't know his name.
All my ancestors that I know nothing about were quite heroic and famous.
Yeah, there you go. I intend to be killed on a broken, sinking battleship.
Now, how
my
fucked up is
tombstone will reflect that. No, I'm just going to tell people that's what happened. Died tragically.
Where are you going to get a
saving his
battleship?
family from a broken. I'll be dead on a toilet. I'm going to lie on my tombstone. I'm making an analogy for how history actually works.
Died valiantly, proving atheism.
Died valiantly, proving that ants are the only real threat, and you're all
it was me attacking them.
I am making a joke from the Royal Tenenbaums, so.
I died from exhaustion.
Guys, I've had a great time, but I gotta go. I gotta go to sleep. I'm about to pass out.
Later, Jim.
Yeah,
right,
yeah. Recover, Jim.
But it was a real pleasure. Nice talking to
Thanks for
everybody.
coming on, buddy.
And whoever I'm debating, get at me, and I'll get at you, and we'll do something together soon, man.
Sweet.
Awesome, brother. Yeah.
Let me
So, yeah,
All right, y'all take care.
Nicholas, Nick? Did you actually watch that debate from earlier?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't.
Oh, good,
okay.
good for you, man.
Be glad.
You missed, quite a show there.
Oh, it was a shit show.
Medical fire.
I don't think that it'd be very interesting. I'm guessing that I've seen basically all the conversations with DD go the same.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter who you're talking to.
Very Kent Hovind like.
Well, it was the same that he's like I told everybody else. It's the same that he's been doing for 5, 6, 7 years. He just ran his same old script. It just kept, and he just uses the same dialect all the time.
I was looking at like a picture of these people that were involved in this child trafficking thing in the UK. All these mugshots of these people, and there's this one woman that was just leaning into her mugshot, and there was no sense of like doubt or shame or anything like that being involved with this child trafficking. And I was thinking, it's really amazing the confidence that some people have,
isn't it? It's shocking. Like, it's shocking. That's why I don't need there to be some kind of supernatural evil, man. Human beings, they got some juicy evil. You feel bad for an evening, just look up what happened over in Auschwitz and shit. It's miserable.
Yeah, actually, it's interesting because atheists typically don't like when you talk about all the bad stuff that humans have done.
Why? Usually it's done because of Christians. Hitler is a huge Christian. Huge
that was
Christian.
a clumsy thing. Oh no! Wait a second.
Oh no! Don't do the Godwin law.
I love that. I love that. So
Sorry,
here's the thing. I love when
though.
people say that.
He was though.
That's the funniest thing because.
But he was.
Well,
though.
let me say what I'm going to say.
He professed to be a Christian.
Hold on, wait.
Oh, so there's no true Scotsman, is what I say here. I mean, we could debate things all night, buddy.
Wait a second. It's so funny because it's like, yeah, Hitler, who hated Jews, he worshipped the Jew as God. And not only did he read, turn the other cheek, and do unto others as you like them to do unto you by day, by night, he gassed millions. Like,
he didn't. No. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. Hitler used Christianity just like every politician uses Christianity to get to their means. Right. Are you telling me that Trump is a good representation of Christians?
No.
Okay. So why don't you guys do something about that? That's what I don't understand. I don't know.
You guys
fix your shit. It's your house that's falling apart and burning.
Converse, when are you guys going to deal with that Hitler problem?
Exactly. When are you?
I know.
But seriously, respected Christians pray over Donald Trump in public spaces. Like, is that you guys cool with that or
no? I'm not cool with that.
Well, I agree. You guys have the same problem. I'm not trying to like tell you guys that you guys are Hitler. That's not my point with all of this. My point is you've got this book that everyone believes in, and a lot of people use that to fuck with people. And
yeah,
I find that telling me that I'm wrong is insignificant in making those institutions better. And you don't do that.
It's a manipulation tactic. It's part of his demagoguery and his propaganda.
I'm well aware of that. But dumb Christians are not well aware of that. Do you think Duncan is a Trump supporter? Because I think he is.
Probably.
Yeah, well, I personally didn't vote for Trump, but I would just say that of the ones that did, it's an atheist or not atheist necessarily, but the leftists hate when I say this, that they facilitated the environment where a Trump could grow. Like it takes a special soil for a Trump to grow.
Lay it solely upon just one side.
Well, no, of course not. Just
the
one
entire
thing.
environment. It's the entire environment that has to do with the rhetoric and the hyperbole and the gross misinformation campaigns that they all are engaged in that led to that position and led to the mindset that people have to choose one way or the other based on either theology or on social constructs, social things like abortion or gun control or a myriad of subjects.
Politics
is manipulate people. Right. And it's the same way that religion has also done the same thing to manipulate people in a certain way to get a desired outcome.
Yeah, well, I would just say that it takes a special soil to grow a person like Trump, obviously. But what I would say about that is just that if you look at the right, far back, like let's say the 90s when I was growing up, right? They were ultra like conservative to the point where they didn't want rap songs.
Oh, that goes back to my era in the early 80s with Reagan.
Right,
the and all that. You know, the satanic
if you-
panic of the 80s.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you look at the left now, they've become the far left. They have become the 90s of the right with
That's not true.
all the political
That's
correctness
not
and
true.
all.
That's not true.
Even people that are liberal are agreeing
whoa,
with
whoa,
that.
whoa, whoa,
right
whoa.
now.
Tell me something right now. Are you a man?
Am I a man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You identify as male.
Yeah.
I do too. That's cool. What if you didn't?
What about it?
Would you like equal rights? Would you like to be treated like a human being? Would you like people not to be mean to you and being a miserable fuck to you? That's the entire left's position. If you think the left has gone too far, you're not paying attention to what we're actually trying to do.
If I think I would probably be more like Blair White and say,
"Ooh, that's a horrible person to say."
Well, I just mean in the sense that people, in order if I have to take a night class in order to communicate with you, I just am not going to communicate with you. Like, that's my thing.
I would also argue that compelled speech is double plus ungood.
It's not compelled speech if to be civil to each other, is it?
I don't know what you mean by civil to each other. If you mean that I have to address certain people in certain ways, then I think you're talking about compelled speech.
Like, keep in mind, I have a transgender person on my show all the time.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying my point is, my point with that is, if you're accusing the left of that, you need to be looking at the right, because it's really not happening the way you're thinking it's happening.
Well, no, I'm not saying that the right is
insane.
Is completely good or anything like that, but rather what I would say is
speech polices on a level that, like, it's drastic to me where you got. And my point with all of this is, like, the left is always trying to get where everyone is not treated badly, and then it's painted as we're trying to police everyone.
That's not the case.
True.
Think about it.
We hate the police.
When a lot of people on the left, like Democrats, were there was a study.
The Democrats are not on the left, but go on.
Well, when there was a study done that asked, would you rather rich people go up in income and lower class people go up in income, or would you rather the rich people go down in income and the lower class stay the same? They would rather the rich people come down and stay the same.
Wait, I have a question.
Instead of everybody going up.
Because there's no need to have rich people, and it's an intuitive thing for people to know. I'm sorry, if you're defending rich people, you're not going to get very far.
I'm not. I'm just saying that, like, I would rather everybody do better than to bring somebody down and me stay the same.
I mean, I don't know what the study is. I don't know what you're even talking about, so we're not going to discuss like that's a real thing.
That's fine. I don't expect you to defend it.
No, and I'm not going to. But my point is, with all of this, is when you characterize the left and the blah, 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 and the atheists and the blah, 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 this is why I call all Christians child rapers. This is exactly why.
Well, I didn't say all, right?
You say it in that way that it's like, well, the vocal minority is what you should be saying. You don't say that, because if you say the vocal minority, then it makes
there's an easy way.
Irrational psychopaths that can't say the F word.
Okay, there's an easy way for me to see. Like let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So Elizabeth Warren got a position at Harvard based off of saying that she is part Native American, and it was due to her grandmother having high cheekbones. And then it came out after DNA test that she has significantly less than the average American citizen. And she got that position as the first minority person at Harvard to hold that position based off of being a minority. Do you think that's
yeah, probably a legitimate minority should have gotten that position. I agree.
Okay, I just making sure.
Elizabeth Warren, I like that bitch.
No, I'm not saying you do. I just
Bernie, bro, Zoe.
Okay, because some people they'll protect their side no matter what. So I would just
you guys don't. You guys aren't going to protect that Pope that probably raped a nun.
I'm not Catholic.
I know. You guys all are free to say that, but you ain't Mormons either, and you're all in the same pantheon as according to me. All I see is you're the forest guy. I can't see the trees.
Yeah. But there's a term, the word facile. It just means to make things neat without accounting for the complexities of issues.
I agree with that, and if it weren't for your vocal minority, then I wouldn't do what I do, but I do what I do because of your vocal minority.
Okay.
Because your vocal minority gets people killed.
I could tell you guys how to beat Trump right now. It's to stop chasing, stop grasping for straws. like the grasping for straws is the thing that kills the left. Is that they'll
What
go, oh, he said,
exactly was he grasping at? The part where he's recorded saying grab him by the pussy and he got called out for it? What are you talking about right now? What straws?
no, I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about that quote from third.
Fucking legitimately, he should have got impeached when he wouldn't show us his goddamn tax return. This is craziness.
No, that bothers me almost as much as somebody sleeping with their intern while they're president.
I don't care about that. Don't you think I like?
You don't care about that?
Is that a joke? You think I like Clinton? That guy killed a bunch of brown people because it would be good for political shit. Fuck the Clintons. I didn't want to vote for Hillary. Fuck.
Hang on a second. So no, I wasn't talking about his quote from 20 years ago or whatever, but I was talking more about like
20 years ago at the time. It was only like 15.
Oh,
and
okay.
I've been running for president since the goddamn 80s. So this is an inevitable thing that's been going on. Donald Trump has always run for president once in a while. So like,
Bob, I didn't see you backstage.
Donald Trump, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is we're all ill-equipped to have this conversation without me getting sources and shit.
But it's Trump on the Lolita. Was Trump on the Lolita Express though? Maybe he was. I think I actually heard.
He basically had his hand down Jeff Epstein's pants, and he was like, "Daddy, how many cummies before I get on the junior plane?" Fuck, man. Why are you guys defending the fat pig capitalists? Like, you don't agree with any of them.
Wait a second. I was just trying to make one point that like take for example when Trump said 1 Corinthians, right? And everybody goes, "What? You could tell he doesn't know the Bible because he said 1 Corinthians." Well, like the funny thing about that is that actually I've heard Bart Ehrman say that, and I've heard other scholars like I've heard a few scholars refer to it as 1 Corinthians. I think Richard Feynman. Not Richard Feynman.
That's some shit.
Like it's not a
lifesaver right here, man.
Well, no. What I'm pointing at is like like when you do stuff like that, it shows people that you're trying so hard to make the guy look like an imbecile, which isn't hard to do.
We all know Trump's a pig.
It's not hard to do. So like, but what you got to do is you got to give the devil his due when it's due, because if not, it makes you look bad.
Killing those random guys in Iran, wasn't like. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. Like,
I'm not taking up for
how much more writing on the wall do you got to do before it? We're not nitpicking goddamn Donald Trump. We're literally just telling you what he's doing, and you're. We cannot have this conversation, dude. You've obviously triggered me beyond.
This is funny because Converse is trying to help him. He's like, "Hey, when you defend people like Soleimani, you look really bad, and we elect people like Trump." And you're like, "Oh my god, you're attacking Soleimani! I'm so triggered. I can't even talk to you."
Shut the fuck up. Are you seriously telling me that you characterize what I said as defending Soleimani?
Yeah, it sounded like you.
Why do you think Donald
Trump killing a couple people in Iran?
Why do you think Donald Trump?
I think you were referring to.
Why do you think Donald Trump killed that guy? Was it a political reason? Is that a good reason to do anything? Then shut the fuck up! Like, wow, holy shit! I'm not defending the guy. I'm saying, fucking nearly starting a war with Iran. Y'all's younger than me. Y'all's go to war before I do. Y'all should care if there's gonna be fucking war in the Middle East.
I really don't think that he nearly started a war. I think he shut that region down pretty well.
Wow, wow.
Isn't that what military experts would also say?
I cannot believe you can function your tongue enough from all the bootlicking you usually do with that kind of fucking talk, man. Holy shit. That's crazy.
So I was actually just trying to point out that
that's certified.
Well, I mean, I'd see on the like I have a friend that's on the left, and he's pretty far, man, because it just seems like I'll be talking to him about a random moderate thing, libertarian thing about freedom or whatever, and he'll be like, "No, that's crazy. I can't believe you'd say that." Like, and like even like I have a transgender person that's often on my show, and when I had a conversation, they said. I asked about Rachel Dolezal, who thinks that, who some people say is transracial, and this transgender person I had on goes, "Well, they're mentally insane then if they believe that." And I was like, "Whoa, you can't say that."
to just. I mean, like, what does that mean? Like, who cares?
I'm just saying, like, both sides have like issues. I think.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, I wanted Ben Carson to be in there. I could care less about Trump, so that's my own personal vote.
Ben Carson.
Well, I think that the whole thing has really gotten out of control, not on all sides, not just, not just one side. Everyone is to blame, including the people who, do the voting and all that. I think it's just gotten out of control ever since the advent of the internet is compounded infinitely. It's just gotten worse and worse and worse and worse.
We just got rid of the electoral college. I think things would, if we did it by populace, I think things would work out better. If we
Would you really say Hillary would be any better than Trump, though? Come on, be serious.
No, there's two sides of the same coin. She would be equally bad.
Homie, I'm not saying that she wouldn't bomb Iran for political reasons either. I'm not saying she should have won. I'm saying in the future, it'd be nice if we did it the right way instead of the dumb way.
Yeah.
Okay, whoa, wait. What is the right way and the wrong way?
The wrong way is the electoral college.
Okay, I can agree with that.
I don't know if I could agree with that.
The founding fathers would disagree with you, and they'd argue against you.
Yeah, I don't think I could agree with the popular vote.
The founding fathers weren't dealing with the population density that they were dealing with now. Things are a little bit different. Maybe they'd look around and have a different conversation. So don't tell me what buttholes we're talking about when there was fucking 13 settlements and now there's 50. 2 of them are off fucking shore, and we don't even talk about it. But Puerto Rico, that's us too. We just let that fall apart. If that were fucking California, more people would complain. But at any rate, yeah, okay. The founding fathers,
California's great.
Exactly the same fucking thing. Jeez,
yeah. We should have all of the states run like California.
Well, they did the electoral college back then, right? Because you didn't get the information to all the people that we get to nowadays, right? More people are informed than back then.
Of all the other states, they make the most money besides like what, New York or something. Like, what's wrong with California? What's wrong about how they run things? That's crazy. It's like another
let's just think about this point as far as electoral college goes. Like, if I wanted to win an election, I would just shove as many people that agree with me into into one place. What was that?
A swing state?
Yeah, just
gerrymandering.
Yeah, that actually happens in real life. Weird.
No. I would like take illegals and then I would pay them to use like birth certificates of dead people and things like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very devious. I'm glad you're not a politician because you would do devious fucking things.
I'm just saying, if I wanted to win the majority vote, there's plenty of ways to do that.
I have a much better way, and I'm not afraid to tell you guys. I would start a public campaign where I would put money towards processing rape kits that the police already have, and just process tens of thousands of rape kits and say, hey, I made the world a little bit better by doing this. Vote for me.
Sure. I mean, I'm just saying that, like, there's with popular vote, a town, like some small town in, rural, wherever, with 155 acres between every power line or whatever, 700 acres between every city or something, like in the whole state, like they don't really get to say anything. It's like if California and New York have the majority.
They have more power. They have more senators.
Well, okay. Here's
he's all having their own individual senator. While millions of people living in California have one.
Let me get in something here about the electoral college real quick.
Sure.
Okay. Is that the electoral college? The major flaw with it is that the representatives of the electoral college are not mandated to vote the way their district or their area voted. They can vote however the hell they want. They do not have to go by the popular vote. If we just eliminate that.
It's also a problem.
Well, no, that is the problem. That is the biggest problem with the electoral college, because an electoral college representative can go against every single, if say one district, his electoral college district, one candidate overwhelmingly, say it's something like 75%. One candidate won, but the electoral college representative can turn around and vote the opposite way. That is what is wrong with it. If there was mandated,
there's more than that. Gerrymandering, there shouldn't be the gerrymandering should not even be possible. There's a lot of things besides
that's not gerrymandering.
I know that. I'm saying you're categorizing that if you fix this one thing, you would fix everything.
We have a myriad of problems with the electoral process as it is.
Still have to change it. You'd still have to change it to reflect populations. So you'd still have to make it so, yes, Rhode Island gets representation, but they're not going to get as much as California. They're not getting the same amount as another highly populated area. That doesn't make any sense because
each state has a certain amount of electoral college votes depending on population.
No, that's not how it works. It's like the opposite. It's like
okay. Then why are they so obsessed with Ohio or Iowa or Illinois?
Swing states. They go red and blue.
Swing states because they have more electoral college votes.
They go red and blue. Right. That too. They also go red and blue more often because they all. Okay, if the system isn't broken, then every state should be one of those states. Am I wrong? So the entire system is broken. The entire system needs to be fixed.
Pretty much, yeah.
I don't have an answer for how you fix the entire system, but it is broken and it does need to be fixed. We all agree. Let's talk about something else. It's boring and it's all above our pay grades.
Right, exactly. Well, yeah. So I mean, we'll go for like maybe another 10 minutes or so, and then I'm gonna kick it off air. But Nick or Praise, is there anything y'all wanted to bring up before? Or
no, I'm not really staunch in politics, so I just listen.
I'd rather talk about theology or philosophy or something.
Sure, that's fine. If y'all want to bring up something different, like just feel free. Nick, what do you think about Darth earlier? He had this presuppositionalist, it was kind of like he was kind of raging tonight, man. He had like this real like attitude about him where he does that often, right? But it was just interesting. And I was saying that earlier on, I'm not sure if you were in here, but I was saying that like if Darth, were to really believe that he's like this much wiser than atheists, and he were to treat them as if he's a professor and they're some type of low-level student, like I think he would get his arguments would sound a lot more appealing, because if he were more like, well, listen, just explain to me what's your foundation, okay, but here's the reason why that can't work logically, right? And like, what do you think about the whole precept argument, and then specifically how he represents it?
Well, yeah, that's the thing, is I think it's a terrible apologetic, and I don't think that he believes it. But if he really did, if we were to be charitable and say he really did believe what he's promoting, he's basically this idea exists in Islam, where people are basically, they don't convert to Islam, they revert to Islam, because everybody knows Islam is true. And I think if everybody knew Islam was true and people weren't living according to Islam, a certain amount of moral indignation would make a lot of sense. And so if we were to be charitable towards his view, his disdain for people, I think, could make a lot of sense. But I don't think it's borne out by the way he behaves.
Yeah, he needs to change his approach, the bottom line. So
yeah, I just don't. The precept argument just falls flat. I don't see anything in it. All it is the Bible says this and God says this, and I'm saying God's told me in a certain way, so I know this is true. And I'm like, great, I'm glad you believe that. Demonstrate something, And then he goes, well, the impossibility contrary. Well, no, that doesn't do anything either. You haven't demonstrated the truth of what you say. You're just trying to disprove other things. So
yeah, I mean, this is not a complex idea. When you hear it for the first time, you realize that his worldview is a possible accounting, and there are many possible worldviews that could fit in just as well, like the ghost that never lies.
Well, he sets up a false dichotomy from the very beginning, with either you agree or you don't agree, when there are other nuanced and other positions, and that just in and of itself just smacks of disingenuousness.
Yeah, and so Phil, although I know you don't like Eric Hernandez, that he actually did a really good job with debating Satan Bruggencate on this topic about apologetics, and I think he really took some of Sai's typical talking points and kind of turned them on their head there. So I know you don't care for him, but if you, I mean, you might.
The guy, I can read when someone's doing something. Again, when you take like this much evidence and you're trying to stack it up next to the mountains, okay, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, because like at the end of the day, yeah, I get passionate about this stuff and I get fired up about it because it's fun, and I give a shit. I I'm very convinced we're all completely fucked as a species. Like I'll agree with that. I blackpilled that a long time ago. Best possible outcome is we get a Mad Max future. I'm down for that. Like that sounds real fun. Other than that, like
well, the bacteria will survive. That's good enough, right?
No, the ants will do it. I think the ants will be fine, to be honest.
Yeah,
they can,
so what's wrong with that?
That sucks. Doesn't that suck for us?
Why does that suck for us? We won't be
because
around.
we're humans. Are you not a human? I'm sorry. Are you not a human being?
Well, I won't be around when there's just ants. So why would I be upset about it?
What if it happens next week because of like some catastrophic thing?
I won't be around.
It sucks, right?
I was looking forward to next week, I must admit.
I mean, I hope I get the weekend because I'm going to a convention, but
Yeah, it's interesting. I had 2 dislikes and I was happy with that, and then somebody took back one of their dislikes.
Oh my god!
Thanks, appreciate it.
That's almost worse. Maybe they meant to do a like.
Yeah, like how you accidentally hit dislike sometimes, or maybe they were listening and then the conversation changed.
Oh yeah,
and they're like, you know what, this guy's not so bad.
Hopefully it's Brenda.
Well, I think that I don't know, these topics get kind of heated, but at the end of the day, I believe that like there is an I think you really have to argue it out, because I don't think how some people do that. Well, you just have to assume that you're right. I don't know. I think
I'm
both
not
sides
saying
do
that. I'm not saying that you should assume I'm right at all. There's a lot of evidence if you go look for it, and it's made for layman's.
Yeah, there's I was listening to Josh Rasmussen. He commented on one of my videos the other day, and so there was a discussion he did that popped up on my stream, and I was like, you know what, I haven't watched his videos in a little while. I'm gonna check him out, and one of them I listened to, he was saying that all the atheist philosophers that he knows say there is evidence for God. Like he said, he doesn't know one that says there's not evidence for God.
That's not even.
And he's a philosopher, so he knows these guys, right?
That's a silly thing to say.
No, like that. Atheist philosophers take the they take the fine tuning argument and things like that seriously, and they go, well, yeah, I mean, it even if they think that it's not good evidence, they think that it at least adds probability to the claim.
Okay, I do have something to say on this in a real way, right? So let's pretend for a second that let's pretend for a second that scientists, and I'm not saying that you guys are doing this, but scientists are now forced to also investigate leprechauns and unicorns and magical flying unicorn ponies or whatever. I don't want scientists wasting their time on things that are most definitely not true.
Sure.
And that's where it gets down to it for me with that kind of.
Yeah. So the reason why that's not the correct way to look at this is because, I would say something like the science is the study of the natural world, and so I wouldn't try to study supernatural things.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
It stops us from leaving the planet. I don't think real scientists think about young Earth creationism.
God isn't a scientific question; it's a philosophical question.
Yeah,
I might disagree with that. I think science is unbiased to either natural or supernatural.
Sure, if God showed up and God showed up, and we could all.
So praise, you might actually, I might actually be wrong on this, but I just mean by the definition of science. If you look up a definition, it'll say the study of the natural world.
I think naturalism.
If you mean like inquiry,
yeah.
But if you mean something like inquiry, then
I mean, you go to a job, you look at a microscope, you observe things, you write it down, and then that information with everyone else's information is compiled. And other people look at all this information and they compare it to this. They run it through computers that are doing that at a much faster rate than we are. That's all. I don't want Kent Hovind in charge of my schools. I don't think I'm being unreasonable.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. Like, we're not fans of
right.
Kent Hovind, really.
Yeah, but I would say Aaron Ra is the best of the heap either.
Yeah. I would not want Aaron in charge of the schools either. I mean, like, he seems like
I disagree with that. I don't know if I've watched enough of his stuff. I've seen.
We do.
I literally was moved to tears by one of the ones he was talking about. I actually didn't know that Trump was. I didn't know that Trump was allowing wolf hunting again. That's a fucking travesty. It's not funny. It's a fucking travesty.
Yeah, but you have to ask yourself, like, could you be like extremely biased? Because, like, I don't know. I've even heard
That's really rude. Hey, why is it Jesus? Is it because you're extremely biased?
Yes, it could be potentially. I just said
Okay.
you have to you know, at least imagine that you could be really biased, right? Like
because I like Aaron Ra, because Aaron Ra says things in a way that
from
I
my
understand.
perspective, I've heard very little of Aaron Ra, but from what I've heard, hearing somebody say that his speech brought them to tears is equivalent to me hearing somebody said that hearing Kent Hovind brought them to tears.
Cool meme. That was really worth it. I'm glad I listened to the entire thing.
Well, you help you understand my perspective that it's not ridiculous.
I don't know why it would be.
I mean, it would be because you heard two different things, right? So, I mean, Aaron Ra's been speaking for a long time, so you haven't heard what he heard. So, yeah, that is kind of ridiculous to say that. And I would agree that Aaron Ra is great with the science and the phylogenics, but his philosophy is a little weak. But he doesn't study philosophy.
I'm not trying to be too shitty. I find this entire community to be a bit like easy to but whatever.
Well, my philosophy is for shit too.
Let's make it clear. The guy that just said that was an atheist. So
yeah, that's straight up atheist.
That's interesting. That's an interesting way to put it.
Said the whole no. I'm talking about the guy that just said he finds Aaron Ra's philosophy to be weak, and then you said, "Well, see, I find this whole community to be kind of weak."
I don't care about. Do you understand that philosophy doesn't do like anything? I like the good place a lot, but
I used to.
That's a dogmatic claim, man. You know it.
Wait a second. That is itself a philosophy. That philosophy doesn't do anything.
You're right. I guess
philosophy. I used to think the same thing, right? And then listen to the people, and I've changed my attitude a little bit. It still it helps to work through more arguments and problems. It gives you different ways to talk about it to maybe clear things up, a little bit easier. But then you have to study all the terms and then the philosophy terms, to actually understand what the hell they're saying to begin with.
Well, let me give a defense. Like you guys will probably agree with me on this. So like there was like in Vienna where all the scientists were once assembling, and there was the Vienna Circle and these guys and they were saying, what makes something science? They were doing this philosophical philosophy of science, and they were like, what makes something science? And they go, you know what it is? It's verifiability. And then along comes Karl Popper, and he goes, no, it's not verifiability, it's falsifiability. And these philosophers were really talking about, well, what's the best way? Like, so a lot of the foundations of science are built off of philosophical inquiry, but it just science and philosophy are different. They're not you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
right. So what Aaron Ra was talking about that moved me to tears was talking about how it was about his family, later in his family being killed. He was talking about these wolves, which actually did very much distress me. And because they're allowing like the razor traps and like some really inhumane ways to kill these wolves. And they're wolves that just got off the endangered species list. And so where I'm at with is why I'm okay with calling y'all's deeply held beliefs silly and nonsensical is because when I moved to tears, there are actual outcomes to it. Like the things that he was talking about were really important to me. You're imagining blah, blah, Aaron Ra, long hair. Right. Oh, he's such a dick.
Oh no, just some of the things he said.
And I get it. I finally get how it feels to be told things that you care about on a deep level are just silly and pointless. So I will try not to do that in the future.
Awesome. To other we taught you something.
No. I was taught because of your utter inhumanity at me in the same regard. Right. And I also have learned not to let you guys see too much behind the mask, because apparently there's only ridicule and mockery there, even though we're all the same fucking creature. We're all the same imperfect crap, and we're all going to see black when we die. Whoops.
Yeah, so I would just say that, like, I can see where you're coming from. Like, I'm sure there's people that I listen to that you would listen to and go, well, that guy's an idiot. And I'd be like, well, I kind of
Eric Hernandez.
Yeah, like Eric. Like, I think Eric's a great guy. He is himself a
He makes his money off doing Christian shit, right?
Well, like he's an educated philosopher with a position in philosophy. Like, but besides that, like the one thing I just want to say was like, I can look at instances of Aaron and just say like, well, when he says that evidence has to be,
So on top, but that's not what made me cry, man.
yeah. So that's what I was gonna say is like, so I guess then on the, like, for example, Native Americans are able to kill bald eagles like that, like because it's part of their practice. Do you think that's wrong too, to allow them to do that?
So we're doing there's a Kukway fallacy. Is that what we're doing here?
I'm just asking you, do you also disagree with that?
I think
or-
I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I like dogs and I like wolves because they dream. Have I seen an eagle dream? I don't. Maybe they dream. Should we kill eagles?
Wolves and eagles
I don't know.
Cool, like shirts.
We eat
stuff,
death.
man.
You know that, right? No matter what you eat is death. I'm well aware of that. But I've limited the things I eat to things that I know are stupid, like chickens and fucking cows. Fuck cows. Fuck deer.
That's funny.
Smart. They dream. That's crazy. You eat something that dreams. That's fucked. Cephalopods are us if we hated every single other version of us. If cephalopods ever got together, we fucked.
I bet you that Ask Yourself would claim that cows.
Yeah, Ask Yourself would not like that. I have an atheist friend, Ask Yourself, who is like a hardcore vegan like proponent, and like
I don't eat cephalopods and I don't eat pigs. So what are you talking about?
Like the cow thing and the chicken thing, he would be like,
hey, then I'm bleeding for the salary he eats because that was murdered too.
But you gotta have bacon.
But pigs are smart, so you don't feel any badness. You didn't watch Okja or whatever that movie was called on Netflix.
No, I've slaughtered pigs myself. I've taken them out and shot them in the head and gutted them and done the whole thing.
A drag for you.
Yeah.
No
I mean, I got
an atheist.
Human life than I do. I think pigs should have a shot at evolution. I think it's unfair that they didn't.
Well, the numbers that they're breeding them in, I think that we're on track for that pretty good.
We're breeding them to be dumber, though, aren't we? Right? Kind of the opposite direction, a more domesticated way. Aren't we guiding that direction?
In some respects, yes.
Different than evolution, isn't it?
Mutation, and just
isn't that domestication?
Rears its ugly head and says, "Hey, look, I came up with something different."
Well, no, actually, if you look at it, the wild boars were actually tame pigs that got loose and they turned back to the wild, and they're actually going out of control.
That's true, and that's because they're smart. Because pigs are fucking smart. I'm not joking.
All right.
They say that their pigs are going back to boars, that they're going back to their natural roots because they're intelligent enough to do that. God help all the dogs figure it out.
Dogs do the same things. You can do it with a chicken.
Yeah. So before we break the internet, I know I said like 20 minutes ago we're gonna kick it. I'm gonna get out of here in 10 minutes, but we were having too much fun. So
I answer all your questions. It's the problem.
So
right?
yeah, exactly.
Well, I do want to say one last thing on that before you shut off, which is, when you're talking about being brought to tears about the wolf thing, I could imagine that you're feeling compassion for these animals, and that makes sense. So I don't mean to criticize that, but I mean, Kent Hovind could have talked about that sort of thing as well.
Do you think Kent Hovind could deliver it in a way that anyone would actually feel any emotion? I've seen him try.
I think he probably stirs more emotion.
He's like
I think Ken does rely on emotion quite a bit in his presentation.
Yeah, I think he probably stirs more emotion than Aaron.
Yeah. So with that though, we'll
you guys. I think you're wrong.
So with that, before we break the internet, I'm gonna go ahead and it's 1:30 a.m. here on the East Coast, so I don't know where y'all are, but it's pretty late, and I got to work in the morning, and I'm working full time and going to school full time, and so I got a lot of stuff I got to get done. But anyway, when I was watching that debate earlier, I just thought there's no way that I'm not having an after show tonight. So
we all agree that Duncan did not do a good job. There was not even a good conversation.
Did a horrible job.
Yeah, so everybody's watching, either hit that like or dislike button, and if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do that. And I guess we'll see Phil and Praise and Steve, some other guy named Steve, tomorrow night. I'll be moderating a debate on modern day debate on is porn. I think is porn ethical or is porn
wrong?
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Dangerous. Yeah. Psychologically dangerous.
So that'll be a really cool thing to check out. So it'll be on Modern Day Debate.
Looking forward to it, Phil.
This is gonna be good. I'm glad it's you and not fucking Dunkin' Donuts. I'm telling you. Holy fuck, dude.
All right, guys. Well,
do it. He doesn't have a script for that one.
Right?
Yeah, that'd be sad if I did.
Come up with a whole new script, and it's not enough time to do that.
Yeah.
All right, then. Well, I appreciate everybody being on, and with that, I'm gonna go ahead and take off. We'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Okay, thank you very much.